few people here. All right. Just setting up the rack here. Do a couple sets. Okay, we got a few people here. Hey, they're Australian dude. Leslie, how you doing, brother? No matter where I'm fucking sitting in this place, I'm always sitting on some sort of bump or something. Wait. Yeah. I don't want to train at Champs. The energy there is horrible. The Champs gym. Few good people there, but I don't like the energy there anymore. Yes, I don't train at Champs, so yeah, you won't see me training in there. How you doing there, Tristan? How you doing, buddy? And DJ Yankoff? I'm good. You can't see those mountain peaks with that sweatshirt on. Maybe they're gone. Too many honey buns and you're hiding it. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's right, Andrew. You're the honey bun guy, not me. I don't like the honey buns. So where are you going there, Andrew? You said you're in a car ride right now. You're driving 4 hours to somewhere. Hey, where are you going? You going to shoot something or something? Going hunting or whatever? Yeah. My brother goes there because there's no other option. But yeah, like I said, I can get into it, but I won't. I just I already know who runs the place, so that's all that I need to know. That's it. Should upper body pull volume match upper body push volume to avoid muscle imbalances? You know, I don't think it's really that linear. I don't think that the body really responds that way. Pushing or pulling, different muscle groups involved, fast twitch fibers, slow twitch fibers, different percentages in each. I mean, you can do 3 sets and get lots of results with back, and then do 3 sets and no results with chest. So it just depends really wherever your weak link is, right? So do even volume if you want, and then just see how your body develops. And once you start to see that there's a lack of development in one area or another, that's going to give you your answer. Across the state to see family. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Andrew. Sorry to hear that. Wasting that drive just to see family. Jeez. Nice. Yeah, all right there, Evan. Yeah, have a good one. Yeah. White. Yeah, facilities, but yeah, there's lots of other issues there too. But the bottom line is, yeah, I won't. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of things I could bring up that are just that I won't. What's my favorite whey protein ingredient combo? Usually the whey protein that I can just get down. That's usually my favorite combo. Something that is more like stevia based. I don't mind whey isolate. And I know casein has its thing, like casein slower absorption and everything like that. But I find for the most part, I just want to make sure that I'm not, I don't even know what this percentage would be, honestly, but I just like to be able to digest it without getting nauseated or anything. So yeah, if I find a protein powder that I don't feel nausea from after I drink it, I like that. Saito Kimbo, is squat obligatory for legs mass? No, it's not. Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah. Okay, Ed S, do I add other things to my whey protein like bananas? Sometimes I'll add some blueberries and some kale or something like that, and I'll spin it in there. That's about it. I don't necessarily. A lot of times I'll just be water, and I'll drink it down. Like right now, I just had a protein shake because I was at the coffee shop writing some nutrition tips into a PDF form that'll be available on my website at some point. And I'm going to give it away for my Patreon supporters that are tier 4 and above. Give it to them for free. But I'm just putting it together a nutrition sort of PDF that people can download. And it's going to be just like probably 5 or 10 pages long, you know, somewhere in between there. And it's just some general tips and things that I discovered from eating certain ways. And it's just going to be in written form. So that way if somebody wants some tips, because it came up in a live chat a couple weeks ago where somebody said they'd really like to kind of have some guidelines. So that's what I'm doing. I'm putting that together. So that's why I was a little bit later today, getting on the chat. That's what happened. Thanks there, Nada. 99 cents, eh? You're giving me a good donation there to make sure I don't have to die in the winter weather. So thank you. Thanks for that. Although maybe you're so maybe you're just this is my my coffin fund for when I freeze to death in the winter that you think I should have. Me and Nada have been talking back and forth on what the definition of cold is. So he's saying, and he's right. He's saying that when his dog's feet freeze to the ground, he can't take his dog for a walk. That's the definition of cold. So now we've been having all sorts of different weather. Now we got massive amount of rain, and it was really snowy there for a bit, and 15 degrees below freezing, and now it's back to rain again. So crazy weather here. Yeah. Black Phoenix, yeah, I can see you. You're visible on here, yeah. You're no longer a ghost, Black Phoenix. Hey, Nada, what do those squares mean? I don't know what those squares mean. DJ Yankoff, Jason, I took arginine for the first time and got 3 more reps on the bench. Arginine does help. Arginine, like there was something called NO2 years ago, and there were certain types of NO2 products that were coming out. There were different forms of arginine. But I found there was this one NO2 product, or 2 of them, that I found that it was really a slow sustaining, like a slow release arginine. And that was extremely effective for pumps. Like it was unreal. Like it was a total difference. So also in the feeling of the muscles felt tight and strong and indestructible in some way. So I found that was a really great supplement. But I find a lot of the arginine supplements I took since then, here and there, I never really noticed anything from. So I think it just depends on the type or the, and I'm not an expert there, but I think there is different types of arginine supplements. Some will be better than others. Sean Pavlik. No, Sean, I remember who you are and everything, Sean. So how's it going, buddy? Yeah, I find people get too much in their freaking head about everything, about tuning this and tuning that and whatever. And I mean, this is the devil's music, and this tune is that I just go with what I feel is right in the moment, my own movement of truth, and that's the right thing. And that's sometimes based on certain limitations, but yeah, I don't subscribe to that sort of philosophy of. I'm not saying there can't be an improvement, and I'm not saying there hasn't been some meddling maybe with music and its frequencies and whatever. But in the end, if it feels right, it just feels right. I don't go into the details and obsess about it. I'm not too much of a mental crazy guy. Like I don't go around in circles over analyzing stuff. Sometimes I find the mind gets in the way of everything. And that's really what the enlightenment process is about understanding where the mind works for you and then where it works against you. And sometimes when it gets into the over analytical thinking of, oh, I'm receiving a massage right now. Oh, why am I enjoying a massage? What type of massage is this? Like that kind of thing. And then it starts to take over the whole process. So it's the same thing in the workout game. Sometimes people get their minds in the way, and the mind doesn't help anymore. Now they're just getting in the way, right? The mind's just meddling with stuff. Thanks there, Leslie, for the $10. Thanks, buddy. For the Galantian cause. Amen. All right, brother. Thank you, bro. Hi, my mom wants to know how to stop being bloated. Well, she has to stop eating foods that are not agreeing with her. Sometimes it can be mild food allergies and things. Again, I'm not an expert in this, but sometimes it also can be her digestive system's not working like as far as her acidophilus or bacteria profiles might be a bit off. So there might be some sort of, what do you call it? There might be a candida issue, or there might be some sort of bacterial issue in there. She doesn't have the good gut bacteria that are capable of digesting some of the things. She could have a mild allergy to gluten or something too, right? And I hate to say allergy because allergy means like this food is really the bad thing. But really what we have is we have a lot of toxicity that's sometimes in the body that's causing the body to compensate in certain ways. So this is something for her to check. I mean, the best thing for her to do is go to a naturopath and find out, okay, what is going on? What's my food panel? What am I allergic to? What am I sensitive to? What's going on in my body? And start to rebuild from there. And no, this is not a one session thing where you just go in there and everything's fixed. It's more like a process where you go to a naturopath that you feel is that you feel is competent. And basically you go there for successive treatments for a period of 6 months to a year, and then see how your health starts to shift over time. Lucas, have you ever dealt with insulin resistance with yourself and our clients' recommendations of how to resolve the issue? Okay, so basically what you're talking about is insulin resistance, which means that you've had a lot of sugar and you're kind of borderline sort of diabetic or something like that. Well, there's a couple of supplements out there that are supposed to be pretty good for helping with increasing sensitivity to insulin in your body, body's own secretion of insulin. And this therefore helps stability, helps you preserve more muscle mass and lose body fat. And the one supplement is the mineral chromium. Chromium picolinate is supposed to be a very powerful way to help you with gaining in insulin resistance. Now, there's a couple other products out there like vanadyl sulfate as well. That's a natural product that also helps with absorption of carbs in your meals and things and keeping your blood sugar from going up and down. Vitamin C with meals also works a little bit like an insulin mimicker. If you take some vitamin C with your meal, that helps you absorb. I noticed that when I was playing hockey, sometimes I'd have a big carb meal, and the days that I took vitamin C before the hockey game, I'd actually absorb more carbs and I had more energy on the ice. And the days that I didn't have quite as much energy. So it wasn't anything that there was no placebo effect. It actually happened by accident where I just discovered, shit, I had so much energy and I felt like I could skate through the boards, I was so strong and the cardio was so good. So I noticed that the days that I took vitamin C just by accident with my meals, then therefore I was absorbing more carbs. Now, the other thing you can do is there's a type of blueberry extract that's supposed to be extremely powerful, and you can do some research on this, but there's a blueberry extract that's supposed to be extremely powerful for helping with stabilizing blood sugar as well. Nice. The 21100. The 21100. Good morning from Australia. Just received the mountain tank top yesterday. Looks great. Enjoying the channel. Thank you. Yeah, glad you're here. And sorry, guys, I haven't put up a video the last 2 days. What happened was my computer, again, I keep saying this, but put it out there. My computer is too slow to deal with some of the raw files that I'm dealing with. And I'm trying to color correct things and make things more artistic and whatever. So I'm kind of trying to take my videography thing to the next level. So I'm using this different camera. I'm using these raw files. Well, these raw files crash my computer like crazy. And then, of course, there's sometimes certain other problems that pop up that are unforeseen that cause me to lose a bunch of my footage. So I filmed the whole workout and then I lost all of it. So that's why that footage wasn't up. So sorry about that, but kind of this is what happens with this whole video thing. So I'm trying to expand my skill set, but in doing so, sometimes you hit different learning curve problems and obstacles. So that's what happened. Andrew Rowe, I've been seeing tons of ads with 23-hour fasting and building muscle saying it forced the body to increase growth hormone and you actually gain muscle 1 meal a day. I don't think it's possible. Andrew, I think anything's possible short term, but the truth is long term, what will it do? And there's no doubt that sometimes fasting or certain things you do to the body will sometimes have a short term effect. Almost like if I don't eat at all for 24 hours, I might have more energy all of a sudden because I'm not dealing with the digestive sluggishness when my body's digesting something and I'm a bit sluggish or something. But that doesn't mean long term it's the best energy to run on. So I think that's where people sometimes make a mistake. They look at something in the moment too much so, but they don't look at things holistically. Like, okay, how do I feel and what happens to my body over a period of 10 months or 3 years, right? So yeah, and if you take a person that's sedentary, that doesn't do anything, and then they eat once a day, then hey, maybe it doesn't matter for them because they're not doing anything. And if you just lower their calories down and they're not looking to perform better, there could be a totally different thing. But I think there's a reason why most sports nutritionists aren't recommending that people just eat 1 meal a day and then don't eat the rest of the day and somehow expect their athlete to recover. Would less volume mean you increase the weights in the exercises? No, not necessarily, because sometimes increasing the weights in the exercises, sometimes if you're going to failure, it can be more intense for sure. But at the same time, it's just working different muscles, not hurting different muscles. I mean, it's just breaking down different muscle groups. And sometimes, yeah, it could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, because a lot of times when people go heavier weights, they don't go as deep into failure just to keep that 1 rep or so in the tank. So they're trying to prevent themselves from, going into those straight reps, which is good. But sometimes because of that, you may want to do an extra set or so to make sure that you're hitting that groove, right? And hitting a different type of muscular failure, but not in the set dangerous type failure. So, but as a general rule, you could look at it like that. Like maybe you don't need to do quite as many sets. Now, the reason why I don't say an absolute rule on this is because when you're doing high reps, sometimes energetically, you're just worn out. When you do a set of 50 reps and you do 4 sets like that, especially if you're doing legs or something, your whole system is just worn out. I mean, your legs are shaking and everything, right? It's really rough. And to do extra sets like that would be it would be more an energetic burden, right? It's not necessarily hitting the muscles more once you totally deplete all your energy stores. So I don't know. I think it might change depending on the person. I think it might change depending on the person. I'd say stick to the same and see how you feel, see what happens, and then experiment. Add an extra set or two here and there and see how you feel. Eating big to get big a must? Yes, it is. You have to eat big but clean foods, not eating big like just eating everything in sight. A lot of times people make the mistake of saying, okay, I'm going to just eat Burger King, or I'm going to eat ice cream, I'm going to eat this and that and whatever, and all you do is end up bigger and fatter, but you don't necessarily end up bigger, right? So there's a happy medium in there. I'm not saying to never eat that shit, because sometimes you need to eat some sugars, or you need to eat some higher glycemic carbs and stuff in order to shock the system, get an abundance of nutrition or of nourishment in the body. But if you eat too much, then the body gets overnourished, and then the fat stores start to grow. So, but you do need to eat a lot of good food for sure. Yeah. Hi, Jason. What do you think about doing a daily full body workout with a bro split leg style to hit each muscle group within 16 hours? So you're saying that you train every hour or so, but just a different body part? Is that what you're saying? Best exercise for calves growth? Jumping, probably. Jumping along with calf raises, like donkey calf raises or leg press calf raises. What's your opinion on doing overhead press and bench press with flared elbows? Well, first of all, overhead press and bench press with flared elbows are totally different. They're totally different movements. So you can't say an overhead press with flared elbows is the same type of danger risk as bench press. It's just a different movement. It's a different plane of movement, right? Both are presses, but they're in different planes, so it's going to have a totally different effect. So when I shoulder press, I find a flared elbow is actually safer than doing it this way. I find it's safer. It's just different. But I'm not saying doing it this way is normal or for everyone. Like me, I feel awkward doing it this way. It doesn't feel right. I mean, I do hit some front delt, but I find it strains the front delt a little bit in a weird way. I find flaring the elbow a little bit and bringing the chest in and sticking the chest out a better technique to doing the overhead press. But that said, it might be different for you. It depends on how you're built. How do you feel about a 30-minute rest between sets at a home gym? Well, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now with you guys. Right? Jeez. I'm going to do a set here. I'm going to do another warm-up here, just warming up here. See if I can get some shoulder presses in while we're talking. I'm just warming up with the bar here, just get some blood here, just bloody ready that I'm doing something. See, this is where you guys think overhead press always has to go above the head like this, right? It has to go up. But it doesn't necessarily. I mean, I've talked about this in a video I made a while ago. I find it more efficient like this. It's just straight up and down, right? Without this movement in. Although if I want to bring in the traps, then I'll do that. Right? I'll be right back. I'm gonna blow my nose. Darn rain. Nothing but rain everywhere. All right, I'm back. Okay. What happened? What happened? Fill me in, guys. What happened? Don't ask me about other people's training techniques. I'm not here to advertise their shit. Nor am I here to advertise my opinion of their good stuff or bad stuff, because, you know, whatever. I mean, some guys know what they're doing, some guys don't, but I'm not here to, that's not what I'm doing this video for. You know, and I will hide you if you keep on doing it. So, okay. So yeah, it's just necessary. Just because, you know, once you start getting into this thing, guys just are hiding spam in different ways and stuff, and it's just too much. Like, I'm doing this to help you guys out, but I'm not here to comment on other people. It just becomes too messy. How long does it take to lose muscle when you stop working out? Well, pretty much immediately you can lose muscle. It's just a matter of how much. You flatten out immediately. Your body will start dropping glycogen immediately, and you'll start to flatten out. That pretty much happens within a day or two, maybe 4 or 5 days, actually, to be fair. 4 or 5 days, you start to flatten out, and then after a week or two, you start to dwindle down. Because yeah, the puffiness is basically a lot of glycogen storage, and yeah, the body starts to eat its own muscle when it doesn't need it, but it comes back fast. That's the good thing. So. Oh, yeah, GL, you're asking me what I feel about 30 minutes rest. Not, yeah, no, I get that, GL, but you were reminding me by mistake. So yeah, I'm gonna do another warm up set here too. Now, if I'm Andrew Rowe, one of my major supporters, I only do shoulder presses so I can lift more honey buns, because he likes honey buns. So that's why I'm doing this, to show him how to lift more honey buns and bottles of Pringles. Andrew was tuning in the car. I don't know if he's still here, but I was playing a game of Blackout with him, and he was eating some Pringles and a honey bun. I was giving him shit about it because I was watching my diet more at that point, just kind of cutting a bit. And he's eating these bad things, so I had to bust his chops. Greetings from rainy, windy Germany. Nice. Yeah, well, it's rainy and windy here too, so yeah, we're kindred spirits there, buddy. APPAREL, I can overhead press 275 pounds. Well, that's very good. The other thing is, I want to talk about this. Some guys talk about how they can overhead press, but then when you watch them overhead press, they're using a lot of leg drive. It's like they're bouncing from that bottom using the leg drive, and then almost like a power clean or an Olympic clean, right? And that's fine if you want to do stuff like that to push your delt deeper into failure. That's a bodybuilding technique for sure. But it's definitely going to be different than somebody that stays stable and just pushes with the shoulder. It's going to be a totally different thing. Which is why when you see an Olympic lifting guys who do clean and jerks and stuff, they do lift 400 pounds above their head. But if you ask them just to press it, they wouldn't be able to do that, right? Hey Jason, I have sleeping problems. Will melatonin mess up my hormones? I've never taken melatonin, but I've seen people take it and stuff. I don't know. Consult a naturopath about that. I'm not really a person to really be able to give really reliable advice in that category. I don't think it will, but at the same time, I don't know all the delicate sort of things that happen with these precursors, right? So check with a naturopath or something. I've heard it's safe, but that's just me hearing it. I don't know. Black Phoenix, what's my biggest pet peeve about working out in a commercial gym? I think my biggest pet peeve is the drug culture that's now become such a commonplace. And I'm not saying it's never been in the gym. Like, it's the 90s and 80s, it was there. Like, there were always those guys that were doing whatever they're doing. But now it's almost become enabled. It's almost like social media has enabled this type of behavior. So now you get all these people that barely know what they're doing, but then they're doing that they're using some performance enhancing drug or something, and the ego that goes with it. That anyway, there's a lot of, again, this is not always the case, but there's a tendency for people who are drawn towards that state of mind. They have a tendency, say 70-80% of them, not all of them, but 70-80% have a tendency to be the drug dealer lifestyle that just wants big arms to go to the bar so that way he can drink more and then still have arms, so he's using other drugs to compensate for this drug, and then he's partying with ecstasy at a rave on Friday or something. You know what I mean? There's this type of culture I don't have any respect for, right? So, and I find there's a lot more of that now in the gyms. So yeah, I don't like that. I don't have respect for guys that are using drugs. I just don't. I mean, I can have respect for them as human beings, but the drug part, their accomplishments mean nothing to me. Like absolutely nothing. Like I understand the elite, the top 1% in IFBB bodybuilding and the top 1% natural bodybuilding. Yeah, they both have to sacrifice and try really hard to get to where they're at. And yeah, they deserve respect as far as they both work just as hard. But this culture of people who don't want to put in the standard amount of work, don't want to take care of their diet, they don't want to stop drinking alcohol and using recreational drugs and stuff, and they're just doing one drug to compensate for that. This is just a sickness. I find that there's just too much of that in the gyms now. What's the ideal number of sets for warm-up? Well, as long as it takes for you to be warm, that's the ideal number of sets. And that's not me being a smartass either. That's really the truth. But usually I do 2 or 3 sets warm-up. What's my opinion on naturally increasing testosterone or maintaining, especially in us older men? Make sure your minerals are right. Zinc, magnesium aspartate is a good idea, although I don't take it enough. I should probably, but zinc. Make sure you have essential fats in your diet, like some sort of omega-3s. But yeah, minerals. Mineral deficiency is known to cause a lot of deficiencies in hormones, hormone production. Shadow334i, can I play Blackout with you when you're on next? Yeah, if you're on PlayStation 4, I'm on PlayStation, and I'll be on there tonight under Natural Balance at some point. So yeah, you can find me on there. Add me, we'll play. No problem. Can you overdo it with too much salt? Well, you can overdo it with anything, Ricky. But I don't measure salt, and I've always been fine. And I like lots of salt. Like I have soy sauce and all this stuff, and I'll have. So you're gonna talk to. You talk to my shirt now. You're talking to my shirt. You like that? You just talk to my shirt. Better looking at my face. So I'm just gonna do my chat like that from now on. So yeah, no, I don't think you can overdo salt. I mean, for like if you're just eating a kid here with your meals. But if you have a kidney issue or something like that, or a heart issue, or like who knows, then these could be different considerations. But you do need salt. I mean, salt is necessary, just like potassium is necessary. But if you overdo potassium, you have a heart attack. You know what I'm saying? So you do want to make sure that you're not just dumping buckets in. But I've never watched salt at all. I mean, I've had quite a bit of it, so I found it's never been a problem. But again, you know what? I mean, in the end, you have to pay attention to what causes what in your system, and your body actually it basically gets used to something, and then it restabilizes that way. So if you have a certain amount of salt, then your body will have a certain type of equilibrium that it establishes from that. And yeah, if you overdo it, then maybe it can't maintain that equilibrium, and then that becomes a problem. So yeah, if you start establishing side effects or getting side effects of some sort that are associated with salt, then maybe you need to cut it down. Maybe that is something that has to happen. And I also think, again, it depends on people's constitutions. Like some people have different weak links than others, and certain elements or nutrition will affect them differently than somebody else too. So I'm not here to say as a blanket statement that don't watch it at all, but for me, it's never been an issue. Jason, what are the benefits of full range of motion training, and where is its place in training? Well, the full range of motion that people talk about has no place in training. Honestly, it has no place at all in training of any kind, because the full range of motion that most people are talking about is relaxing on the bottom and then lifting up. And that usually means joint wear and tear. And then from there, you get an issue. And yeah, how can you train anymore? How can that be a sustainable sort of practice? Now, if we change our definition of what full range of motion is and realize that it will be different for each individual, then when we say, well, one guy squats after the grass, that's his full range of motion. Then another guy, it's 90-degree squats, that's his full range of motion. Now we're establishing a real definition around full range of motion. And then from there, I say full range of motion is the most practical, best thing ever. But the problem is it's the one size fits all what full range motion is, and that's what's causing all the problem. Somebody sees somebody else deadlift from the floor, not taking into account arm length, not taking into account torso length, not taking into account this person has to bend over 10 more or 15 more degrees in order to get that bar off the floor, right? I mean, these are valid things. So what are we talking about when it comes to range? The range or the angle at the joints. We're not talking about where the bar is. And when somebody's lifting a bar from the floor, that's a destination point, but it has nothing to do with the range of motion, because one person has to bend in half and the other person barely bends over at all. So this is something that has to be understood. And I find that the problem is it takes intelligence to understand this, and most of the fitness community just is not intelligent enough to understand this complicated thing. It's kind of like when I was only 10 years old and I could bench press 100 pounds on the bench. And this idiot kid, because we're all idiots when we're kids, right? We don't know anything. This kid goes to me, oh, you're lying. You can't bench press 100 pounds because I'm only 90 pounds and you should be able to lift me over your head if you could bench press 100 pounds. And I'm like, I knew that didn't make sense to me because a bench press is different than lifting over the head. But I asked my dad, why is that? What is the reason for this? It's like totally different muscles are involved and it's a totally different situation. And so often now in this Cro-Magnon man society that we're in the fitness industry, people say, okay, if you can do this, that means this. And they're making false leaps of logic all over the place. And then, some people are being crucified under those things, right? Under those false leaps of logic. So that's definitely something that it takes intelligence to understand. And unfortunately, there's a deficiency. I mean, if there's any deficiency in the community, it's intelligence, I would say. They call a study that they read somewhere as intelligence instead of just practical thinking, honestly. Right? Like somebody will say, hey, Jason, you should do after the grass squats. I'm like, okay, well, I get the butt wink when I do that. I have bad backgrounds because my hamstrings, my hips don't move that way. I have to bend over a lot when I squat, where you don't. So that's going to change the range of motion where my bum is. And if my kneecaps feel like they're going to hit the ceiling every single time I do an acid grass squat, how can that be better training? How can that be a better training technique? And they say, oh, we'll just go lighter. I'm like, well, even if I do it with my body weight, it doesn't feel good on my knees. So how can that be the right way to do it? And they say, well, just stretch. And I'm like, I could do the splits and I can stretch all day long, and I have stretched all day long, and the trigger point therapy, the massage therapy. No matter what I do, I still cannot do that without joint pain. That cannot be the right way to train. It can't. But they say, oh, but that's full range of motion. It's like, no, that's not full range of motion. You have to change your definition around what full range is. That's a lot of honey buns. Hey, Andrew, I know you're out there somewhere. I can lift a lot of honey buns now. Yeah, Jimmy Bag of Donuts, T-Rex arm deadlifts, that's exactly it. Some guys got T-Rex arms and then they're like saying, oh yeah, if I could deadlift from the floor, I'm stronger than you. It's like, well, let's just measure the hip range of motion. And if your range of motion is here when you're touching the floor with the barbell and the other person's like this, let's now change him to a partial dead in the rack so that he's got the same bend over, same angle, and then see how strong you are. And you'll start to see how strong you might not be, right? But, there's just a lot of ego wrapped up in it. Whenever people have ego wrapped up in stuff and measuring and, it's just this pissing contest, then they throw logic out the door, because really what they're asking is, how am I better than you? How do I measure up to you? And they're trying to find a way. So no matter what you do, they're trying to find a way to take you down so that way they can prove to themselves that they're better in their own mind than you are, right? So, hey, Metal Man, you got a training muscle shirt and give it to your son, and he went to the gym and was a big hit with his friends. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow, that's great. I didn't think it would be a big hit with kids, but thanks. Yeah, that's cool feedback. Yeah, reps and grooves, exactly. If you're going to do full range of motion, train light or train heavy, but at least know that it's a full range of motion for you. Like, what is the full range? And you must be able to maintain tightness in the muscle. You must not relax that muscle at the bottom for sure. You must be able to maintain that. And then at the same time, not feel the stretch in the joint itself. If you're feeling the stretch right in the joint, like the insertion point of the tendon, then you know there's going to be a little bit of a snapola issue going on at some point. Truth Teller 87. I have no idea who Austin is. Is that you? Do I know anyone who has built a solid physique with mostly lightweight, high reps, heavy volume? I knew one guy that did, but he did heavy at first in the beginning stages of his training, years before when he was a teenager. But then he was doing lightweight, but his lightweight was still heavyweight for other people, like shoulder pressing 105s and stuff. But he was a lot of times using super lightweight on the legs and like just 25 pounds or 45 pounds on the hack squat and just going super slow and stuff. And he had a great physique. He really did. So I do know some people. That's why I say, like, you know, there's not really absolute rules, but there are some general rules. But I'm always open to the fact that something else works for someone. So in the end, it's incredibly exciting because sometimes you'll stumble across something that just rejuvenates you in your training and you're just so excited about it because it feels like you're getting results, but at the same time, it feels right to you. And breaking the exercise dogma is the hardest thing you can do. It really is, because you get trained into it and literally, like, you're training in it in the gym all the time and you're doing certain things and then you're like, okay, well, this must be the right thing. And then sometimes, you know, you're also trying to overcome the illusion of your own experience, because sometimes you might be projecting an experience on something, saying, oh, this feels hard, so that way it must be. Like say if I squat 225 or I squat 405, both hurt, honestly. 225 hurts, 405 hurts. They just hurt a little bit in different ways, but both are challenging. And sometimes I've noticed when I just get a muscle burn or I get pain and discomfort from exercise, I don't necessarily get the same result, even though both are equally uncomfortable. So then you have to start saying, okay, what type of discomfort is giving me the best results? And that's when you become very discerning in how you're doing things. It doesn't mean that the lightweight isn't hard. It doesn't mean that certain exercises aren't harder, but it's more about which type of stimulus does what in the body, and that's what you're trying to become a master of. Don't worry about building obliques. Shadow, you're looking at how you can build. Don't worry about that. Obliques will just come as you train. Yeah, APPAREL, when you do squats, yeah, exactly. I mean, your hamstrings are growing or at full range of motion, but your quads aren't. Well, the thing is, if your quads were at full range of motion, sometimes that means the tendons are going to be under an exponential amount of stress too, and that would be dangerous. So there's a point of diminishing return. Just because a joint can move an extra range of motion, I talk about this passive range of motion versus active range of motion. Passively, you could touch your own butt cheek with your heel. Does that mean you want to do that under tension? Does that mean you want to sit, like literally me go up on my toes, have bar on my back, and then go up on my toes and touch my ass to my heels? Even though I can do this, if I did this with weight, it would be a tear in the tendon of the knee for sure. And this is my best example of active range of motion versus passive range. Passive range of motion is totally different, totally different. You know, the standard sort of protocol on the internet, like people talk like, oh yeah, if I was taking a crap in the woods, naturally we'd have to squat. And what would our range of motion be? That is totally different than sitting of 500 pounds on your back and sitting on your ass. You know, that taking a poop is like a relaxation. You know, it's not even close to the same type of tension. So you can't compare the ranges of motion. Quads aren't much of a jumping muscle, Mark. Actually, hamstrings are where more jumping comes from. A speed skater, Eric Hayden, says he used to squat between 20 to 300 reps per set, apparently no more than 300 pounds, and the dude had 29-inch legs. Well, 300 pounds is still a decent amount of weight. I mean, we're not talking about like just doing a 100-pound weight or something like that. It's still a decent amount of weight. So Black Phoenix, I would say he's doing a lot of time under tension. And this is also goes back down to one of my other videos, you know, where different muscles respond to different rep ranges sometimes too. Metal Man, time for a set. Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, no, good job. Good job, buddy. See, I got personal trainers. They pay me. See? Thanks, Metal Man. Finally, I'm getting my revenge. I had to train people before to get paid. Now, somebody's giving me a tip so that way I can do my set. I am now tipping because of Metal Man. I am a professional bodybuilder right now in this second. I'm getting paid to work out literally right now. Thanks. Finally, I'm getting my credit where it's due. I finally made it. Okay. Sorry if that smashing the rack's too loud, but I can't adjust the volume on here, so sorry if your little ears are hurting. Every time I get a super chat, I do that. Yeah, that'll be about the only time that I'll be asking people not to give me super chats if I had to do a set every time. It's like 4,000 sets later. Jason's just a puddle on the ground. Leslie Jackson, how often should you change your routine, workout program? You know, I say ideally once every month or two, honestly, but it's not really a necessary thing. If you're still getting results or you feel good or you like your training program, nothing wrong with sticking to it. I mean, because the thing is that I do believe in changing, like making micro changes all the time inside a program. Like a lot of times I will change my reps that day just to how I feel. So I'm always changing my routine. It's not like I have a standard program that's so set in stone. But like I've talked about in other videos, I say it's good to stick with the program so that way you can learn how your body responds to a set bunch of variables. And therefore, as a scientist, you start to learn that when you change one variable, what happens in your body, right? You start to actually get some awareness on that. Do you think you could build big biceps with just preacher curls and underhand lat pull downs? I broke both my wrists when I was a kid. Those are the only bicep exercises I can do. Well, I would say, Justin, you could probably tie a wrap around your arm and do cable curls like this as well. I think you probably, if you tied a wrap, you know those wraps, and don't worry about it if you're just doing partials. Don't worry about that. As long as the wrap stays on the hand or on here, just do that. You know, that will probably work really well. The thing is with preachers, they're kind of dangerous. Especially if you do them heavier, you can tear a bicep or something on them. The underhand, you know, bicep like pull-ups and stuff, that's fine. Can you build biceps? I think you could. It just depends on how your insertions are in your body and how you're built. But I think it is a good idea to find a way to wrap a cable around here and then do some cable movements from different angles. Antonio, what do I consider was a good rate? What do I consider as a good rate for weight cutting? I'd say about a pound a week, maybe 2 pounds tops in the beginning, but mostly about a pound a week. If you're going to ask me questions, don't be mentioning other YouTubers and stuff or natural bodybuilders. I don't want to talk about anybody. So don't, you know, it's funny why I don't understand what the problem is in our day and age now. Like, why can't people just have a conversation with somebody without referencing somebody else all the time? It's almost like instead of asking me my opinion just on a certain subject, they say, well, this person said this over there. Like Like, why the hell should I give a shit what that other person says? You want information from me, I'll tell you what I know. And that's it. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I don't care about, let's not bring the third person into the conversation. Just ask me, So it's kind of like you asking your wife out and said, well, this girl said you're good looking, so I should ask you out. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. So there's too much comparison, too much mind stuff, No hate or anything towards you, Antonio, or anything. I'm just noticing a phenomenon that I always deal with on the chats, or sometimes in the comments, people are always referencing other people, saying this person said it, so maybe it's true, maybe it's not. What do you think? And then, of course, when I say something, then they go to that person. Hey, Jason said this. Do you think it's true? Like, why are you comparing that way? Why not just find out? Just follow somebody's advice. Just choose somebody to follow for a second, just for an experiment, and then see for yourself. Comparing information all day is not going to help you. Somebody else can say they saw God in the bench press. Another person said they saw God in the squat rack, Like, go see if you can find God yourself, Like, don't be just trusting everybody telling you, right? Say, okay, I'll try your technique. I'll bench press. I don't see God yet. I don't see God yet. God, is that you? I don't see God. Screw it. Okay, I'm going to try the squat now. God, is that you? God, is that you? Right? So this is what you got to do. Yeah, Richard Parker, I'll check it out. I'll jump on here. I'll see. Yeah, just send me the link on my email. Yeah, Antonio, and I'm not saying I'm always right either. I'm just saying, like, just if somebody gives you advice, just follow somebody. Like, who cares who it is? I mean, it could be like Quasimodo for all I care, on back training. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like, here's how you make a hump. You know what I mean? Like follow that guy for a bit and figure it out, and then see what's true for you, right? But comparing information won't help you too much, So. Odin said to do curls in the squat rack. Well, if Odin said it, then I will. But most likely Odin would hang upside down, because wasn't he hanging from a tree and then one of his eyes got pucked out or something like that, and then there was crows around him? Like, that's anyway, Odin, pretty cool guy. Which is more reliable, empirical evidence or scientific? The obvious answer would be scientific, but how does one deem what is scientific, especially since a lot of scientific data is contradictory? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not good with the words as far as like the actual definition, like the scientific method and all this, because there's all these left brain motherfuckers on the internet that are always like, oh, actually the scientific method is this, and then they're like, well, you weren't referencing that, so they get caught up in a little detail that you said in a sentence, but they lose the overall meaning. Like, they're the typical example of not seeing the forest of the trees. So you're saying, hey, if you do this, if I did this, I did that, then I got this result. That's science to me. They're like, that's not the scientific method. The scientific method is this and that, whatever. I'm like, okay, so what is this? They're like, oh, well, that's just, can't remember what they call it, but basically saying your own experience means shit. That's what they're saying. And that's a typical sort of thought that exists in a lot of these mind Google Wikipedia type minded people that are coming up now. They read something and they say, okay, that must be truth. No, truth is experience. Truth can be experienced, and it will be different, and there'll be some variables that will change what the results are of that, but there's this thread of truth that is moving through that. That's what we're here to find, right? And science has its flaws, that's for sure. Hey, Joe Skill, how you doing, brother? Jason, I would think that after your amount of time training, you'd be mostly right about your instructions. Well, to a point. Like, I mean, there's always, like I said, different scenarios, and sometimes there's different scenarios that pop up in my own body where I have to break my own rules and say, okay, shit, is this really the truth for me or not? But there are some things that I've come back around to over and over and over again, and just, the body will show you its limitations. That's the one thing the body is. It's not apologetic at all. The body doesn't say, oh, fuck, sorry, I pulled your back out. Sorry, man, I had to make sure that disc got wrecked, Like, the body doesn't apologize for totally crucifying you when something happens, right? Like, if you drink too much or if you eat the wrong foods and then it does something to your health, the body doesn't say, oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'll just politely take away those symptoms. No, it just shows you, right? So it's really your best friend in that way, but at the same time, it can be your worst enemy. And ultimately, my body has shown me over and over again the limitations based on maybe injuries I had from hockey or just biological limitations based on the way I'm built. Like with squatting, I tried to go deeper and all it did was mess my knees up, caused an inflammation of my tendons and my quads. It did nothing for me that was positive, although everybody told me it does positive. So I tried experiments. I really looked to take my ego out of it and say, hey, look at me. I competed at the World Natural Bodybuilding title. I did all this shit and I was on the cover of magazines. I fucking know everything. Like, I took my ego out of it and said, okay, I'll truly just investigate this because, hey, who doesn't want more results? And I'd rather have more results than be right about not having results, right? So then I would just do my own experiments and find out. And that's really the type of mind it takes for everyone, because what's going to work for you may be different than me too. So this is why you have to have that open mind. Ask Param if you do meth to work harder at the gym, is that cheating or is it worse? I would say meth has a higher success rate of killing people. So I'd say meth would probably be worse, but both are not necessarily good. So, and Alexander, I'm pretty sure he's joking or trolling, but who knows if he is? Who knows? I think that much of the scientific research on many subjects suffers from confirmation bias. The other thing, Black Phoenix, that I will say is that a lot of the research studies are done on people that are untrained or newly trained, or people who've only been training a few years, or sometimes they're sedentary. Sometimes they're only 15 years old or 16 years old or 25 years old. Like, they're not done over a period of also 10 or 20 years. You know, so say somebody doesn't train for a period of a year and then they train. Well, it doesn't matter what you do to them. They're going to get some sort of result. Slow reps, fast reps, it doesn't fucking matter, honestly. So depending on how many people are in each control group and how much a diversity there is in each control group, it will also depend on the results too. Say I don't evenly disperse the people in one group as opposed to the other, then that will change the results. So there are certain variables that are even more complicated that are not taken into account as well, that also play a role, right? Scale suspension, yes, sometimes scientific studies are paid by supplement companies, but sometimes they're paid for. There's a lot of research and stuff that, you know, the drug companies, we know, they pay for their own research because they put billions of dollars into something and they do the research and then they sell. And then, of course, they have invested interest in the result, because if the result is bad, they lose billions. Well, if the average gangster will bump you off for 5,000, you can just imagine what a billion-dollar company will do if they don't get the results they want. So there's a reason why, you know, there's a number of doctors that sometimes go missing, or naturopaths, or, you know, there's, you know, it's like a bad 80s science fiction movie, you know, gone wrong. This stuff does happen. And not to mention all the lobbyists in government that are manipulated by what laws they bring in, based on sometimes these billion-dollar companies that are saying, this is the law that we need to come in, otherwise we can't make our product, This is how we conducted our research study. We'd like to blow up infants, you know, and kidnap them from a third world country. And because of this, right, we want that now to be deemed legal because it's for the greater good of mankind. And all of a sudden now there's a new law in government that says it's okay to blow up a baby, right? So, you know, there's a lot of other corruption stuff that goes on. I'm open to all of that. I know there's an immense amount of love in a human being, but there's also the opposite. And there's this whole play that goes on. And yeah, these things influence the truth. So in the end, you have to find out what is the truth for you. You have to find out through your own experience. And that will tell you a greater truth, rather than a lot of biased truths that are being, you know, sent your way, right? Hmm. Robot Junior, you playing any new video games? No, I just play Blackout here and there to unwind in between video editing or my computer crashing when I'm dealing with all this damn video computer crashing stuff, because I'm trying to become more of a cinematographer. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to, I don't know if you guys noticed in my videos lately, where there's different colors and stuff in the background and working with different files, and I'm trying to kind of get different looks to make some of this gray life that I'm living in Harrison Hot Springs when it's raining like this. I'm trying to make it more interesting visually, so that way it's just not so gray to look at, right? So yeah, from there, I'm playing around with that, but of course I'm hitting limitations. So in between, sometimes when I'm waiting for render times for video to do whatever, then I'm jumping on, playing a video game in between, looking over the computer, waiting for it to kind of, you know, come back from the grave or whatever it's doing. Is that fun? You guys like that? Is that a good time? Huh? Yeah, I've supplemented ZMA here and there. I talked about it earlier in the chat. I don't take it enough, but yeah, I mean, if your zinc is down, you're going to have immune system issues, and you're going to have hard time fighting off colds and flus. Magnesium deficiency is a real bitch to deal with, and I've dealt with that before too. So magnesium is really important. I get it in liquid form, magnesium. So it's really, and this one product called Spectralite. It's really good. I think naturopaths carry it. My brother carries it, but you can't get it in the stores or whatever. But it's a great supplement. Joe Skill, yeah. I don't think Epstein killed himself either. No. Ricky Field, how many sets I'm doing? I don't know. I'm just playing around. I've been playing around with my training lately. I haven't been really sticking anything strict. But yeah, if I'm on the channel, I'll do up to 10 sets sometimes for some exercise. Sometimes just messing around too. Sometimes I'll do that. Okay, I'll see what you guys are talking about here. Oh, thanks there, Samuel. Yeah, I got another channel that talks about meditation and things. And you guys are talking about sugar here. I agree sugar can be demonized in some ways, but there's times that having sugar is not a big deal. A little bit here and there, like around a workout time or something like that. So sometimes it can be a way that you can actually up your energy for a workout, and sometimes it can help you. It's not necessarily totally evil all the time. Like, I think it's more a burden if you're having it constantly every meal and stuff. I think then it could be a problem, but sorry, I'm just putting somebody in time out here. They're doing weird shit. Easy as a guy. My music's doing all right. I've been working on a PDF today. Like I said, I've been writing a PDF for nutrition, and that'll be for sale on my website. I'll make it pretty cheap, but it's gonna be about 10 pages long or something like that. Maybe 5-10 pages, a PDF. So that way people can just get some nutrition sort of guidelines. I'm gonna give it away free to a certain level of my patron supporters. So I'm working on that today. So sometimes I'll just pick something. It's either filming, because I have very little light to film in now, so I have to just get out the door and film. And then sometimes when I'm doing that, then I'm doing the video, then I don't have time to work on music because I'm using the same computer for the music as I am the video. So sometimes it's a little backed up because the files are so hard. So I'm in the middle. Like at some point I have to get a new computer. I have to spend the money on that, so that way I can actually do more work and get the faster workout. But yeah, everything in time, I guess. Simple sugar restores glycogen, so shouldn't we take dextrose with our post shake? I have some sugar. Like I have mochas around my workout and stuff like that. I don't worry about having a bit of sugar. Like I said, people over demonize things like, and Mr. Happy, what religion am I? I'm not a religion. I'm the religion of truth is what I'm after. And I use spiritual practices from every religion. So, but I definitely do not believe the cultural BS that goes with a lot of the religions that gets infiltrated in there. Like there's a religion. I just made a video on my other channel about religion and enlightenment. Enlightenment is about the seeking of truth. And there are people in religion, there are people that are seekers of truth, and they use the spiritual techniques in that religion to do so. And they become just as great as any other sage or whatever, like no matter what religion you talk about, okay? But then there are those that believe a lot of the cultural stuff that got in there and twisted certain principles around and twisted certain rules and concepts and stuff. And it's kind of like a kid, right? If a kid walks into the mother and father's bedroom and sees some, love making or whatever, the kid might think dad's beating up mom or something. You know what I mean? Like there's a misunderstanding around it. And unfortunately, I find with a lot of religions, you get people standing at the front of the room that don't have the experience of enlightenment, but are teaching the misconceptions around it. And there's just this, it gets pretty messy. So I'm not against religion. I think it has its role, but at the same time, it can become a stumbling block for some people because they start engaging it with the mind and everything's about rules and regulations. And then it becomes just as big of a prison as no religion. So, suffering itself. Justin869, no, building my computer is not the way to go because that's a whole other set of problems there, Justin, because I use a Mac. And if I build like one of those other computers that's like some sort of Mac sort of PC hybrid or whatever, Yeah, it's cheaper, but then I got a whole other set of problems when I'm dealing with certain video editing that I've consulted with people about, and they've had issues and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Fit Macho Man. My channel is Jason J. Gallant. Just look it up on the description. It's right there. Just look it up on YouTube. You'll find it. NHL skills, McDavid, 4th year in a row. I call upset for fastest skater. I don't watch a lot of NHL, although I wish I do. I just watch the highlights sometimes, like some Penguins games and stuff. But there's no doubt McDavid's unbelievable. He's just an unbelievable player. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of reflexes these guys have, how good they are. They're just crazy, crazy good. It's amazing how good they are. Do you eat junk food when going out with friends and a wife? Yeah, I do. I'll eat it. I'll have French fries and gravy. I love that stuff. Popcorn at the movies and stuff. I'm not really invested in being the best bodybuilder in the world right now. Like, that's not my main focus. It doesn't drive me. Like, when I get up in the morning, I'm not like, oh my God, I got to be the best bodybuilder in the world, because I know the limitations of my own physical body and stuff. And I'm already happy the way I am. I like to train. I like to get bigger and stronger. I like to get better. And I do try to improve. But at the same time, it's not all-encompassing for me to be in contest shape all the time, right? So I don't need to worry about if I eat a little bit of junk here and there, because I'm not trying to be in contest shape. Now, there are times where I'm trying to diet down so I look better in a YouTube video or something like that, or leaner, because it does look more impressive, but I'm not driven by that. It's like my identification is not driven by how much muscle I have. That's not what makes me tick anymore. Mr. Happy, dude, no way. I'm sorry. Are you Jason, David, Frank? You gave me a karate class in Pennsylvania. No, I didn't do any karate classes in Pennsylvania. Although I was in karate when I was young, until I was 20 years old. I was a karate instructor in Western Canada. Yeah. Yeah, I'm using Final Cut Pro there, Robot Junior. Yeah. Should I avoid all cardio when bodybuilding? I don't think you need to avoid all cardio, because a lot of guys do cardio. But if you have a fast metabolism, then you might consider avoiding really intense cardio. That's for sure. And if you've got a slower metabolism, then doing a little bit more intense cardio might be okay, because you've got that buffer of fat stores there. So it depends on metabolism too, I think. Cardio, there's no doubt, cardio can help blood flow and circulation and recovery, but the intensity is what matters. And if you do too intense, you're going to burn off some glycogen. Francis Drake, to have a tiny waist, should I avoid heavy squats or deadlifts? No. Mr. Happy, I knew it. What'd you know? What do you know? What do you know there, Mr. Happy? I didn't do karate instruction in Pennsylvania, so. What percentage of your training is spent on working in a 20-ish rep range? I would say about 70% of it probably now, because I find going super heavy is almost like, especially with squats and stuff, it's really dangerous for me. It doesn't work very well. Yeah, Samuel Denman, when you go for a 2-hour walk and you get an overall body pump, that means you're circulating that energy around. So yeah, if you find that your energy is not running right, or you find that you're getting a circulation issue, so this is, again, boils down to your awareness. If you know that your circulation is not good, like you're not feeling like the blood flow is getting around, and you're kind of moving, getting that well-being, that kind of lights turned on, then a little bit of cardio can really help with that. And then from there, you have more physical energy. It's almost like stoking the fire for the energetic system or the Krebs cycle. Then from there, when that energy system is moving, then it's easier for you to have energy for weights. And in this way, cardio can really help your energy in your training. Yeah. Oh, I'm the Green Ranger. Yeah, no, I wish I was. I wouldn't be on YouTube if I was. Yeah. Tell us about the Firebird you used to own. You're hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Mr. Happy. Okay, so what's your point, Mr. Happy? You said, but you are old. Like, I'm not really that old. I mean, it depends on which place you're speaking to me from. Are you 5? Then I'm old, I guess. But okay, so tell us about the Firebird. It was a Pontiac Trans Am, LT1 engine, V8, 350 horsepower. No, 275, sorry. Should have had 350, but it was 275 horsepower. And most of the time it broke down on me. I love that car when it was working, but boy, it was a death trap as far as money. Like, it was constant. Engine blew up. The spark plug wires were always burning up on me. It was horrible, honestly. So don't buy one if you want to basically avoid having to fix it all the time. But man, it was brutal. But I loved it though. It was a cool car. It looked cool. It had like nice, like a bat kind of wing on it and everything. It looked pretty cool. I loved that thing. But yeah, that was a big lesson in economics for me. Do I like isometric tension with weights? Not really. I don't find it does too much. I'm not saying it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't. I never found it works to give me good results. Although sometimes at the bottom of the movement, I'll pause sometimes, just here and there, just to get my body used to that stretch, and it almost seems to kind of break some tissue up and stretch, and it's almost like a good way of stretching the muscle. Of course, I start with light weights first before I deal with heavier weights, but it seems to be a good way for the first set or two to kind of get the body in the groove. Antonio, just remembered something. Cholesterol, being the stuff testosterone is made from, should be kept higher than reference values. Yeah, for sure. Cholesterol, don't worry about cholesterol. Cholesterol and heart attacks, they're not related as much as people talk about that. And there's a whole bunch of research coming out showing that. So cholesterol isn't an issue. Cholesterol is not a problem. It's not something to avoid. Having too much fat in your diet is totally different than cholesterol. You can have a low-fat diet and have high cholesterol. Say you're eating a lot of lobster and all this kind of stuff, but I feel unbelievable when I eat lobster. Unbelievable. Of course, I don't have it all the time because it's too expensive, whatever, but it's good. Yeah, I think a higher cholesterol is better than lower for sure. It doesn't seem to have any sort of influence on negative health for sure. Joe Skill, no, I haven't got the, I got to make an order. I haven't made an order. I have the shirts cost the same for me too as well. And I just made a $400 something order for all the sweatshirts and stuff I got with this mountain logo on it. So I'm going to make another order actually pretty soon. Maybe tonight, maybe I'll buy the new logo because I love what Sam Weller did. That is an awesome logo. I just haven't got that new logo yet, but I really do like what he did there. That new logo, if you guys haven't checked it out, there's a link in the description towards the T public page I have under Natural Gland Bodybuilding, or go to my website, naturalglandbodybuilding.com, and there is a place there for clothing, workout clothing and stuff. Just click on that tab, and then it'll take you to the link, and you can see the different logos that I have for clothing if you want to get something. But yeah, I love the new logo. Yosef Maheo, I answered you, Yosef, so you never watched my videos. Did you not get the comment? I answered you. You said, why are my reps tempo so fast? Go away now and watch my videos on rep speed. I have 4 or 5 of them actually, at least 2 or 3. And just go into my playlist down here on rep sets, reps, and all this, and there will be videos on rep speed, and you'll know why I'm doing it. So watch that instead of wasting my freaking time and not watching my freaking videos when I answer your comment. Why am I answering your comments underneath my videos if you guys are not responding to my comments or actually following? I have to respond to you. Now follow my instructions. All right? Okay. Nice to see you, Joseph. Yeah, Joseph, you can feel my frustration at this part. I spend like hours making a video on a certain subject, and then I'll get somebody asking me about that same subject after I made a video on it, explaining all the ins and outs and everything, and then they send me a message in my Facebook inbox or an email. Hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, I got videos explaining this. Why did I spend all this time making that video if you're now messaging me about that? Like, so just find that first, then we'll have a discussion. So then maybe we can get into deeper levels of it. It's a shadow moment of silence. You guys got to see from my end. I'm making videos, and there's nothing more frustrating than making a video on a certain subject, and then somebody saying, hey, can you answer this question? And I just answered it. It's like, hey, what's your name? And it's like, hey, welcome back. This is Jason Glenn from Natural Glenn Bodybuilding. How you doing? Or whatever. And it's like, they don't even watch that. And you're like, hey, watch the video. I answer your question. They don't watch that either. But yet I spent the time to comment on their comment and make a video for them, and they don't watch either or don't do anything with either. So at that point, I'm like, okay, come on. You got to work with me. You got to meet me halfway here. Yeah, Joseph, come back and ask me a question after you watch a couple of those, and I'll answer for you. I'll help you out. But yeah, just this way you'll have better context because I talk about lots of different aspects of it. So yeah. And it doesn't mean that my way is right either. It means that there is a right way for you, but you'll see why I do what I do, right? Yeah, Timmy Pistol, have you heard of partial reps? Have you heard of somebody called Jason Gallant who used to compete in natural bodybuilding? Have you heard of him? Hey, Joe, you'll be getting the new logo? Well, of course you're going to be getting the new logo. You're Joe. Joe always gets the new stuff. That's who you are now. You got the other stuff, so I expected that from you, Joe. Yeah, what's my name? I don't know. I can't remember. What are your videos about? I have no idea, Shadow. Don't get pissed at me. Christopher starts up. Yeah. That's the problem. Having this face, everybody thinks you're pissed all the time, even though you're just expressing for fun. Just keep yourself awake while you're doing a live chat. But okay, I'm sure you covered this at some point. Do you drink Fair Life milk? I love it. Double protein, half sugar. Never tried it myself. It's also lactose free for us non-manly stomachs. Okay. No, I never tried it. I haven't seen it, so I haven't tried it. I can only say that I find it harder to lose weight now that I'm older, but it's going off slowly. Yeah, Leslie, that's true. Sometimes, the metabolism changes. Recovery is different. Priorities are different. Lots of things change as you age, right? And yeah, we're just trying to keep moving, keep above ground. That's really the goal. And if we can maintain some level of prettiness at the same time, that's all right. But in the end, yeah, it's not the same as when you're 20. But you guys want to go underground real fast, just don't subscribe. Don't click yes for notifications. I'll take you up the mountain. We'll put you out of your misery. You don't have to worry about the whole aging process. I'll take care of that for you. Just flip you up there. Go for a nice dirt nap. No problems. How much did I weigh around 19? Around 185 pounds, somewhere in there, 182, 185. Do you drink milk as a whey protein source? No, but I drink milk in my coffee, or I'll have some milk with my coffee substitute. I drink this a chicory root type drink, and I'll drink some milk in there and stuff. Sometimes I'll have a milk coffee, whatever, like just a tiny bit of coffee in there, but more milk and some sweetener, like some stevia in there. But I don't drink milk for a protein source as much because I drink goat milk a lot of times, and there's fats, a lot of fat in it and stuff. Alexander Stevens, but I don't want to go to the mountain. But I don't want to go, Dad. I don't want to go to the mountain. Yeah, once you start eating a lot of fat in your diet, it can be quite a trippy, a slippery slope, as they say. Tutti Frutti, where am I located? If you want to send a large sum of money, send it to P.O. Box. No, just kidding. Nobody asks you where you're located because they want to drop off huge gifts, right? They ask where you're located usually because they want to stalk you, burn your house down, or steal from you, or do something like that. But they don't necessarily ask you where you're located to give. You ever notice that? Like, it's not like, I guess the people that want to give you big gifts already know where you live, like Santa Claus. He already knows where you live. So why does he need to ask your address? You know what I'm saying? And he just drops off presents. So yeah, it'd be a lot more fun to give out addresses and everything to people if you knew that they were going to drop off huge sums of money, bags of gold, food, I don't know, something like that, instead of just put bullet holes in your window, right? When you say something offensive on the internet. So anyway, Judy, I live in Harrison Hot Springs, BC, Canada, on the West Coast, right above Washington State. So I'm in the same area code as Washington State and California. Send location. Oh, geez. Have I ever trained anybody for a firefighter recruitment test? No, I haven't. No. But yeah, those tests are pretty great. Pretty tough cardio endurance. I'd say you'd be doing a lot of circuit training and a lot of overall body type stuff like lightweight deadlifts, lightweight lunges, squats, and then stairs in between and stuff. That's what you'd be probably doing a lot with a firefighter. Tom Laycock, Jason, what happened on Reddit? Did I get a lot of backlash? Well, I actually posted a few videos a long time ago on there, and also some other websites and stuff like that. And I noticed that people were just like they were like way worse, like stuck in their heads than anything I'd ever seen. Like they were so left brain, but they had no experience. And of course, they're anonymous, right? So there's no way of really proving whether they're saying the truth or not. So then I had people spreading rumors about me, saying that this was they know me, and this, and it was all a bunch of bullshit. So yeah, there's lots of sickness on Reddit. That's what I can say. Am I a wrestler? No. I'm not a wrestler. What am I really? What am I really? Who am I? Let's do some reverse. I'm going to do some reverse laterals for fun. All right. Yeah, Francis Drake, that's a good name for it, the W race. That's a good one. Are you the Hulk? Yeah, that's right. I'm the Hulk. I'm Billy Idol. I've been watching a lot of Billy Idol lately. Guy seems like a pretty nice guy. Boy, he sure learned life lessons the hard way, though. But man, he's kind of a neat guy. I like his music too. Shadow, why you're working something other than chest, exactly. Yeah. I trained chest yesterday, I trained chest the day before, trained chest the day before that, so I don't know if you're taking a shot at me to Shadow. Are you taking a shot there, buddy? Or are you just saying chest is the only thing trained? Hypothetically, if you could only have one piece of gym equipment, what would it be? Squat rack. You know, so you do lunges a bit of rows and stuff, and even if you just lay on the floor, you can kind of use the pins to do a flat press, so that's good. Yeah, Billy Idol, the punk rock guy, yeah. Best 80s music ever. That guy was king of the 80s, that's for sure. So there's always a delay in the comments here. So nice bike. Justin, come on, man. That's not my bike, I told you. It's not my bike. Yeah, Leslie Jackson, that's why I always buy goat milk or whole organic milk, but goat organic whole milk as well. I always buy organic. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a minefield sometimes, just trying to get your food together, you know. Is it possible to build up cardio and endurance without sacrificing gains, muscle mass? Well, yeah, you'll definitely have less gains if you're concentrating on cardio. There's no doubt about it. Do you recommend any pre-workouts, whether it be a food or a type of drink? A lot of times if I'm eating really clean, I find that sometimes my appetite gets me during the workout. I have to, like, I get hungry and stuff. So I find having a mocha, non-fat mocha or something like that has the milk with some lactose in there and a little bit of chocolate and a little bit of coffee and stuff, I find that's the best pre-workout for me. Sometimes I just have a straight coffee with a little bit of table sugar in there, and that's good. But it's I don't usually use pre-workouts, although the odd time I'll use some branched chain amino acids as well. Shrugs on back day or shoulder day, just a matter of personal preference. I think you're right. Personal preference does play a role, but I'd say there is an argument. I mean, and again, I'm open to this, but there is an argument to say doing heavy shrugs would be on your back day, because that way when you're on your shoulder day, you're going to give that lower back a bit of a rest. So. Hey, Mara the Machine, thanks for the $5 there, buddy. You're lacking in pecs and considering nuclear overload. Have you ever tried it? No, I haven't. I've never tried nuclear overload. So, yeah, I don't even know what that is. I'll have to research it. Would you do a coffee enema to gain muscle? No, probably not. Is eggs the best protein to take? Not for everybody, Ricky. I find that eggs are kind of weird for me. I can eat a few of them here and there, and I like the taste of them. I find they're easier to get down than standard chicken breast. They're moist, they're easy to eat, but I don't necessarily feel better on them. So, yeah, I think it depends on your constitution. But yeah, I mean, scientifically, they're supposed to have a really great profile, but I think there's other components to that food that you have to take into account. Best exercise for traps. Well, I never really did a lot of traps, but what I'm doing right here does work a lot of the trap, just so you know. Like, just this works a ton of the trap, because the external rotation, you see how the shoulders roll forward and then roll back? That rolling forward and roll back, that trains traps a lot. A lot of guys are thinking about doing shrugs just straight up and down. And again, it will depend on how your insertion points and everything work, but I found that rolling forward of the shoulder and back is what'll do it. So whether that's with a pull, like a face pull, if this helps you do that, that's great. Sometimes it's with a bent over row for some people. A lot of times, training back too, I work a lot of traps because I have a 45-degree angle and I do get a lot of trap work. But yeah, I find that sometimes the dumbbell stuff is best. Now, the thing is, the upright row was one of the best trap exercises ever, but it's hard on the shoulder because the internal rotation. So I find it's a tricky movement, and most people, they jam their shoulders up, and even me, I had to stick to super lightweight, but it was because of the forward roll of the shoulder and then bringing it up that caused so much trap development. But I found, and some of my training partners found, that it just would mess their shoulders up. So that's why you really got to be careful with those types of movements. Last time you did upright rows was in HS. What's HS? And it killed your shoulders. Yeah. If you're not built for it, you rotate in too much, it'll jam your shoulder joints up. It'll mess them right up. Millen D, can you make a video on breaking bench press plateaus? I actually made a video, 2 or 3 videos on plateaus, how to get through them. So watch those. Yeah, I've never found shrugs to be perfectly effective for me when it comes down to trap work. I get a lot of neck strain and stuff, but I don't necessarily get the trap work as much as I'd like. Except for, hanging the bar down, then I get something, which is an argument for doing super heavy sometimes in shrugs. It's not really the shrug itself, but more the pulling and that eccentric movement, right? High school, okay. Okay, I'm gonna do another set here. Let me just turn you guys. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude. Then you're like, where the hell did he go? It's like Houdini of natural bodybuilding. Just disappeared. Alakazam. Yeah, exactly. Disappear and then come back with a pump. All right there, Ricky Field. Have a good one. I'll see you this week. I'm putting up videos. So when my computer doesn't crash, I try to put up videos almost every day, if not it's every second day or something. What are your thoughts on the idea of no more than 10 to 20 sets per body part per week? I mean, a lot of times I fell within those guidelines, but I don't think you can really say it that way. It just depends on how you decided to train, right? So, and it depends on the intensity and everything like that. So I think that's generally right, about 20 sets per week, but I think it's going to be different for each person. You guys are talking about gallbladder surgery here? Yeah. Christopher Lenz, the exercise I was just doing is for rear delts and traps and some rotator cuff because the external rotation when I'm coming up, right? So a pec flies like this. It's not like this, right? And this is a reverse. So it's more like this. It's like I'm externally rotating as I come up. So assuming Mar, the machine, is saying nucleus overload, and that means just training one body part for a period of time. I do have some experience in that area. As far as I know, a friend that he couldn't train legs because he had an accident. And normally the general dogma around is that training legs helps your overall system. And I do believe it. Training legs does stimulate the system. But I think there is a point of diminishing return where you train legs and then the legs start to rob the body of its recovery because there's so much recovery needed to go to the legs and the lower back and all of these muscles that get broken down by squats and the big compound lifts like deadlifts and everything. So what he did was he stopped training legs and he just trained nothing but upper body. And over a period of 2 or 3 months, his upper body totally ballooned. It looked totally different than before. Whereas before it was like he could not get size on there. He finally broke through a plateau. So if you wish to break through a plateau, it is a technique, a valid one, to then quit training a lot of other body parts and just train the body parts that have to do with that one lift and specialize in that one area. And that can help you break through a plateau. So for a period of short time, like maybe a month or so, or a month and a half, whatever, just do that. And then get back into the training the other body parts again. What's the most enjoyable part of bodybuilding training for me? The pump, the feeling of well-being, the coziness. When you get a pump on the shoulders or something, you get a cozy kind of feeling. I like that. Leslie Jackson, you're off to the gym. Okay, there, you slacker. Get in the gym then. Okay. Get in the gym there, Leslie. Christopher Lindsay, when you walk in a room, do you ever think to yourself, I'm a good man? But if I had to, I could kick everyone else's ass in here. Lifting gives me that confidence. I think when I was younger, I had that confidence, that feeling, but not now. I've been humbled too many times. My body's just not the same as it was before. And Yeah, fights have caused more injuries to me than probably other people. Who knows? Any reason why do you unrack the bar from the front and seated shoulder press? Because that's where it's less dangerous and more comfortable. From behind, like, see, nobody ever gets a dislocation injury from lifting a bar from the front. Like, this will not dislocate your shoulder. That's normal range of motion. Guys that lift from the back, there have been guys that miss the rack and pop their shoulder out and mess their shoulder out for life. So guys also doing rear delt, like behind the neck press heavy, and lose control of the weight, pop the shoulder out. So it's actually dangerous to lift the weight up from the back. I mean, if you're stable there, you got a spot or you're sure, fine, but it's actually more dangerous. Do I have bigorexia? No, I don't. Shadow. Unless you're talking to somebody else, but no, obviously not. See what else is here. I'll do another set pretty quick here. I'll do another set. What do you think about if the exercise is riskier, the better the gains you can get from it? Is that complete BS? Yeah, because riskier to what? I mean, there are some muscle groups that, like say for instance in squats, right? That would be the riskiest exercise, deadlifts and squats. But what is it risky to? The lower back, right? Mostly the lower back in those two movements get injured more often than say the knees, although the knees can get injured, whatever. But the lower back's probably the biggest, most vulnerable area. But does that necessarily mean you're going to get the most leg mass from squats if the lower back gets injured, or if it's get tweaked, or if you can't lift because the back is sore and you can't really challenge the legs? So there's that there, right? So I think there's something to be said for doing risky movements because risk is usually associated with instability. And if you are doing stabilized exercises, there's an argument that you're not working the stabilizers and all that. So yeah, you want to do those unstable or unstable movements. But if it becomes a serious issue where the risk of injury becomes higher than the benefit, then doing those exercises becomes counterproductive, right? And you're better off doing something safer. All right there, Christopher Len. See you later, buddy. Nicholas Polton, I struggle to get to the gym more than 4 days a week. What do you think about doing your 2-day split programs 4 times a week instead of 6 days? Yeah, you're still going to get results with it because that's the neat part about the frequency there, Nicholas. When you have higher frequency, you don't have to worry about missing a day here and there because you are refreshing those body parts and reminding them that they need to adapt. So I would say that would be a better way to train, in my opinion, and it has been for me, my body type anyway. I mean, again, I'm open to other people on different body types, but I find higher frequency does seem to really work really well in those cases, right? Rather than just training one body part really hard, say you train 3 or 4 days, you train each body part really hard, and then you need a couple days rest. By the time you come around to the body part again, it's 7 days later. So I find you're better off maybe doing an extended version, maybe do a couple extra sets during the 2-day split workouts for the 4 days. Maybe be in the gym a little bit longer, get an extra bit of volume in, but that would probably be a better way to train, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Shadow, you have a problem with your body when working out. You'll use your one arm more than the other on bench, and you'll use one leg more than the other when lifting. Well, stabilized movements are one way to do this. Unilateral movements are also a way of doing this, which means, say you do lunges or one-legged squats, and then you start to even out that stuff, and then your weaker leg or less coordinated leg, that's the leg you start with the training. So with me, a lot of times I would start with my left leg, and then my left leg started to get bigger than my right, so then I had to start wearing the right more. So unilateral movements are a great way to help with this issue, but I do think it's normal to have one side a little bit stronger than the other. It's kind of normal, right? Because there could be a number of different reasons. Sometimes you might have a shoulder tear in here from some sort of previous injury or a neck impingement or something else. It's not necessarily muscle strength. Sometimes it's a structural issue or something else that's happened in your past that's causing the problem. Do I plan on doing workout collabs like I did a few years back with a powerlifter? No, probably not there, Francis, because most of the people, like, I always get people asking me about workout collabs. Why don't I collaborate? Why don't I collaborate? A lot of times with the big YouTubers, I've reached out to them. I've actually sent messages. A lot of times people are saying, hey, collaborate with this person. And chances are I've sent a message to that person. They didn't even get back to me, or they weren't even interested, because the truth is YouTube is a business and I don't have enough subscribers for them to be interested. And then the people who are interested in collaborating with me are people that have absolutely no benefit whatsoever to my channel. I mean, it's not going to help me get more subscribers or help me grow my channel. They have 5 subscribers or 100 subscribers, and then they're like, hey, collaborate with me, because what they're looking is trying to build their audience, so they get the whole benefit, but I get really, really very little, right? So yeah, in the end, that's why I don't collaborate a lot of times. I'm open to it. If somebody has a decent amount of subscribers and I can have a decent conversation with them without them like spreading total bullshit and we have an absolute fight with them or whatever. I mean, but yeah, that collaborations aren't quite the same as what people think. A lot of times they think it's just, oh, you're on YouTube, so that means you know every other YouTuber. It's like not really the case. Just like people say, hey, this person's in Canada, why don't you just reach out to them? They have 1 million subscribers. I'm like, well, yeah, it doesn't work that way. If they have 1 million subscribers and they're selling their own workout programs, their own t-shirts, their own this and that, last thing they're interested in doing is bringing their audience to my channel, so that way they lose money. Like, why would they want to do that? There's just nothing in it for them. So I don't really blame them, honestly. It's a good business decision on their part. So that's why that doesn't happen. Yeah. What age did I make the most gains? I'd say from 19 to 23, 24, somewhere in there. Dumbbells or barbell with close grip bench? I'd say barbell mostly. I've done dumbbells, but barbell, because sometimes when you're trying to stabilize with the dumbbells, you get a little bit less tricep in there. But again, you try it out. Try them both out. But I find barbell for the most part, I get a little bit more tricep in. Yeah. Are there, Leslie? Hey, Leslie, are you going to tune into my videos this week, though, or are you just tuning in for the live chats? Is that why my views are going down? Are you just, like, ducking my other videos? Is that what's going on? Don't be ducking. You'll end up on the mountain if you duck my videos. Oh, well. Cool. You guys got any more questions? What's going on here? Hi, after a long caloric deficit, would you recommend some kind of technique to get back on a normal calorie intake? Oh, well, I never really calorie deficit. I never did the calorie deficit thing. I would just change the type of eating I would do and then slowly introduce stuff. But say you're down to 4% body fat and you just stepped on stage and doing a bodybuilding show, the first thing people do is they just totally pig out. And I've been guilty of this before too. Totally pigging out on all these foods the body's almost forgotten how to digest. So sometimes that can cause like rot gut and real tough time with your digestive system for a few days, and then you bloat up full of water and everything like that. So, I mean, ideally, I would say ease into it. Just start introducing some of these foods you've stayed away from in little amounts. So hopefully your eyes aren't bigger than your stomach, but, you know, just in moderation, just try to be moderate instead of just totally pigging out and just putting 10,000 calories down your gullet when you've been only living on 2,500 or 2,000 or something, right? So that's really the best advice, moderation, I guess. Yeah. What's my Instagram? It's the exact same name as my YouTube channel. Some of the weird, crazy posts I get on this here, it's crazy. There's so much insanity in the world, people, you don't even realize, I don't think, because some of the comments that pop up here, like, you don't even realize how crazy some people are. They're just nuts. Wow. Do you know why you look leaner in the morning after sleeping? Usually it's water loss. It's usually because you peed out the water. First thing you got to do when you get up is piss, right? So you're not having food, your body's moved everything through. At first, you sometimes get a little bit of edema or water retention when you eat food right away, and as it's waiting in the bloodstream to didn't get absorbed in the muscles. But so there's a combination of all that stuff that goes on, and then you get a little bit leaner. Right? Samuel Denman, I wish I had like-minded friends in my environment. The reason I don't share your videos, unfortunately, I grew up around a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics, part of the seeking process. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a That's the neat part about the internet now, though. At least you can kind of seek out communities of people who are kind of interested in what you're interested in. I'm actually really interested in playing some Dungeons and Dragons again. I want to play some of that at some point. So I'm going to look around and see if I can find some people who want to play. I like that game. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like a novel in the making at the same time. So sometimes I listen to some podcasts and stuff on D&D and stuff. So yeah, it's nice to get together with people that like to just have fun, whether it's the bodybuilding game, lifting weights, or enjoying stories or books or whatever, music, So that's why sometimes I'll be expanding my creativity as far as videography and stuff, which sometimes, like you said, crashes my computer, causes setbacks in my content creation for a day or two. But at the same time, I then have a greater ability to play in different ways with people. So that's kind of why I do it too. Did I steal Nicolas Cage's hair? Well, it's pretty insulting, but thanks, man. Yeah. No, didn't steal his hair. Did you switch your butthole with your mouth? Because a lot of shit's coming out of it. Timmy Thistle, come out to Australia and let's smash these fires right now. Yeah. No, you know what? If I had the ability to smash the fires, I would for you. Yeah. 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 One of the things I have, one of the things that I've noticed with people, and I think we've all been guilty of this at some point in our life, is that we'll judge people based on things they can't control. And, say somebody I remember this one kid in my school, he was not very charismatic. He was really smart, but he would talk really slowly. He was not a good looking kid. He was very homely in a certain way, right? And he would walk down the hallways and he would have his hands like this and he'd be in a daydream always because he was a very smart guy and he would read novels and books and he'd have this whole story going on in his head and he would probably be enjoying the last chapter that he read earlier that day. When he ate his lunch, he would eat by himself most of the time and he would sit there for at least 45 minutes, finishing off a meal that it would take everybody else 5-10 minutes to finish. And everybody called him names, or a lot of people did, the popular kids. And I remember people would torture him a bit, but he was just, this is the way he was born. Like he couldn't control it. You know what I'm saying? So I find that's, as you get older, you start to realize like how much of horrible stuff happens to people based on things they can't control. Like somebody has a certain nose or they look a certain way or sometimes it's just something as simple as the aging process, right? People can't control. And then somebody will come along and make fun of it and torture somebody based on something they can't control. And that's like the worst form. And these are the types of people that I enjoyed beating half to death when I was fighting. And I had an immense amount of pleasure in destroying this type of personality. Now, I'm not saying that was the high road, but I'm going to tell you, there was some fights that I had based on that. So just sometimes if you're going to have an opinion about somebody, if you're going to say something, I understand we're all in good humor here, but really think about what you're saying if you're going to insult somebody, especially when it's something that they can't control about themselves. Like, it's not creating any more connection for you. It's not helping anybody. It's just basically you just enjoying torturing somebody. But only a masochist does that. You know what I'm saying? So I understand a lot of you guys, don't have that type of intention, but sometimes these subtle intentions come out. And I think if you're a real man, if you're a real warrior, you also defend people who have let's just say flaws or things that they can't control. You don't enjoy just dancing on their flaws, you know what I'm saying, and pointing attention to them. So anyway, that's my 2 words on that. That's the philosophical moment for today's Friday chat. I went to college for a couple semesters there, Francis, but not long though. Yeah. Yeah, Ailren. Yeah, I saw a lot of that stuff in high school, and I'm not saying that I was never like an angry kid either. Like I freaking made some mistakes too, and actually made that same mistake. So I'm not really pointing blame at or other people, or I'm not saying anything negative to anyone else that did that here and there, because I think human nature is like that. It's almost like we get so identified with our preferences, and I think part of people they're so afraid of actually having that same flaw themselves that they somehow reject it outwardly, and not realizing that that's not changing anything that's going on in their own body or anything. Like by beating this person up from having a flaw that you don't want to have, or some sort of thing that you've judged as bad or whatever, beating them up is not helping you in any way, shape, or form. If anything, it's just causing more suffering for the sake of it, and that's it. So I think as real men that are coming of age now, and I know most of the people that are tuning into this channel are real truth-seeking type men, like men that are looking to have a heart at the same time as intelligence, at the same time, and say, okay, I'm willing to fight for what's right, what's true, but at the same time not torture the world because I have some sort of internal suffering of some sort that I haven't processed yet or been with, and I think that's what makes a real strong man, the ability to face fire within your own fire, and not start compensating for it in every single direction. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about, not like, I agree with you defending yourself, but what I'm saying is that you just have some issue that you're carrying around constantly and just torturing, ripping plants out of the ground because you feel like just destroying something, you know what I'm saying? Like just for the sake of fascination. So real men are masters of their own internal domain, so yeah. But yeah, so that comment, I know it wasn't mentioned a bad way, so I'm not beating you up either, but I'm just saying that it kind of spurred a sort of type of conversation that I find might be valid for some of you, or maybe resonate in some way that you might get something from, Yeah. Okay, London, Ontario. London, Ontario, where there's a place in Ontario where a guy holds Dungeons and Dragons games for anybody that's interested in playing. The problem is with that there, Christian, is that I live in the West Coast, so that's like telling somebody that lives in LA that there's somebody in New York that does something. So I'm not sure, unless it's online, of course. I'm not sure how that will help me. I'm not going to fly 3 hours to go play a game with a guy, so. Yeah, Timmy Thistle, that's a good point. I mean, there are some things that you can change. And most importantly, attitude can be instantaneously changed in this moment. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, sometimes people make fun of somebody for something they can't change. And then at the same time, there's something they can change. They get totally offended if somebody talks about that. Right? So yeah, that's funny. It's true. Can you build big arms by just doing compound movements like bench press and rows? I would say for most people you can't. Some guys have, but most people can't. You can see a whole bunch of bodybuilders and guys that have great bench presses and backs that don't have as much arm development like a bodybuilder. They still have some big arms, but it's not going to be the same as a bodybuilder, right? Christian, shame on you for not being familiar with Canada. Like, God damn it. Americans, for fuck's sake, start learning a little bit about the geography of Canada. We're right above you. We're not talking about Africa or somewhere that's like so far away. Like, I get it if you don't know the, geography of all the different countries of the world, but man, we're right above you. This is something that's totally confused Canadians for a long time. Like I'll be like living in BC, which is right above Washington, and Americans will have no clue. Like that. Oh, what's a province? What's Ontario? I don't even know. Is that a city? Like, just not even a clue about it, right? So I don't know. I think it'd be a good thing for Americans to have to start learning Canadian geography a little bit, just so you can kind of have an understanding. Hey, we're your neighbor. We're right here. Like, I knew there were some kids in high school, these kids that used to go play soccer across the border. The kids only 20 minutes across the border thought that all Canada had igloos and shit, and that's what we lived in. And this is only 20, 30-minute drive away. I'm like, holy shit, this doesn't speak high levels of education system in the States right now. I mean, I don't understand how kids can be that dumb. They think a 30-minute drive and it's instantaneous igloos. Like, what the hell's wrong with these kids, right? So, yeah, it's pretty funny. Do I have any stretch marks from gaining muscle? Yeah, I have on my arms. Yeah. so yeah, there's probably some people in my area, but I'm in Vancouver, Christian. So Vancouver is like known as like the California of Canada in a way, I guess, in a very probably insulting way to California. But it's the warmest part. Like we don't have any snow right now, although we had snow a few days ago. But we don't really get a lot of snow on the west coast, on the bottom, close to the border. We don't get much snow. What's the difference between a province and a territory? I lived in Canada for 20 years and still have no clue. I don't know either. Actually, they're kind of the same thing, but I guess maybe it has something to do with the timing that it was acquired, something like that. You know, maybe the level of government institutions that are there or something. I have no idea, honestly, to tell you the truth. But yeah, they're big, and the territories are really cold. That's the biggest difference. Extreme cold. So. It's like where that movie It was filmed, or The Thing, sorry. The Thing, not It, but The Thing. I recently added bent over rows to help hit my lats more directly. Can bending over near parallel to the floor be problematic? It can be if your lower back is hitting failure first, and it's not necessarily going to hit lats more doing that. Although it's worth a try. Again, I'm open to the fact that you might have different insertion points and stuff like that. But I found that bending over more, I hit more rear delts in the middle of my upper back, but I'm not really hitting failure on my back as much as my lower back. My lower back hits failure way faster than my actual upper back. Is Canada's healthcare system as good as Americans make it out to be? Not even close. Not even close to as good as Americans make it out to be. The difference is that, yeah, it's free to a point, and now it's just become free. But before, you had to pay, like, depending on what you made, you know, anywhere from $30 or $40 to $100 a month or something like that for your medical, right? But what happens is, because there's a lot of people that are using the system and stuff like that, if you want to get an MRI or something like that, you got to wait a year a lot of times, or maybe a year, 16, 18 months. So say you got a shoulder tear or something like that, or whatever, you got to wait like a year and a half even to get in just for a scan. And there are people, and I know from experience this, there are people that need scans or MRIs or whatever because they've got cancer or some sort of issue, and they don't even get in. They die because they have to wait on the wait list for so long. So the other part is that they're not allowing private clinics to exist. So now if you want to get a scan faster, you can't go buy a scan if you need to because you're in an emergency sort of state. So yeah, it's definitely a flawed system. It's not very good. I would say that it's good the fact that you don't go bankrupt to say you break your arm or you get in a car accident or something like that. Like I get that, like that's better, but I would say there is some flaws in it for sure. I mean, yes, it's better than the States. I mean, the States, people can't afford their insulin, say they're diabetic or something like that, and they're dying because of it. Well, that's horrible too, right? So I'd say the States is way worse, but at the same time, it's not as problem-free as the Americans make it out to be. Is deadlifting bad for you or your back? It can be bad for your back. If you can't maintain the arch, it will be extremely bad for your lower back at some point, yeah. GL, we learn about Europe, Asia, South America, Africa, places with longer history. Yeah, but I'm not asking you to learn about everything about fucking Canada. I'm just saying, just know the fucking provinces at least. There's only 10 of them. I mean, it's not like asking a Canadian to know every state, right? Like, we got to know, like, how many states? 52? Is there 52 states? Is it 52? I know a lot of the states, you know? I know a lot of the states. Not all of them, but, you know, I'm familiar with them, right? You know? But you ask an American on average, like, hey, do you know a state or a province? Do you know a Canadian province that might be closer to the west coast of Canada? They won't even have a clue. Like, not even a clue. They're like, I don't know, England? Like, they just don't. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's almost like we're living on a different planet, although we're just like a mile away. We're just boop, right across the border, right? Yeah, 50 states. Okay, 50 states, and then, okay, including Alaska. Okay, good. So I knew it was 50, around 50. I wasn't sure if it was 51, 52. I didn't know. So there you go. And don't be telling me buddy there, GL, because can you name all the provinces, buddy? Because it's a lot easier to name my shit than yours, right? So GL, so funny. So anyway, look at it from my perspective. Every conversation I have with an American, most of them, they don't have a clue about anything about Canada. So GL's getting all fucking cocky, right? Because he knows how many states he has in his own country, but doesn't know one fucking province in Canada. Right? And he can't say BC because that's where I'm from right now. So you can't even say that, GL. You're my buddy, pal. Yeah, that makes it look like a fighting words. Oh shit, that's funny. Well, all I can say is that Canada is really tuned into the States, that's for sure. We're definitely tuned more into the States than the States tuned into us. Like, so, you know, when September 11th happened and everything, there wasn't one Canadian with a dry eye here. I mean, when we saw what happened in New York and stuff. So we give a big shit about what happens in the States, you know, not in a negative way. We actually care, you know, about the people there. When I was in 2001 in Manhattan, right before September 11th, I was there 2 months before the September 11th attack. And I was competing in the natural universe then. And man, I had such a great experience. Like all I ever heard in movies and television and all this kind of stuff was how New Yorkers were so rude and everything. But man, every single interaction I had was like, man, I'd rather fucking live here than in Canada. I mean, the people I live in Canada are way like ruder and whatever. Like there was just so many nice, beautiful people that I met. So that was like, that put an exclamation mark on the way I felt when September 11th happened. I came back home and then, you know, a few months later than that happened, I'm like, holy shit, like these, you know, such amazing people going through such a tragedy. It was horrible. So yeah, everything I'm saying here is coming from a place of caring because, you know, we most of us do really care about what's going on with people in the States and admire that they're fighting for their own rights as well. You know, that we understand that there are lots of forces in this world trying to control people and stuff. And we admire the American spirit where they're saying, no, you know, we want to be able to live and let live in our own way. Right. So I admire that. Yeah. Oh, you went to Victoria Jail. Oh, you're a world traveler now, are you? You're a world traveler, are you? What national parks have I been to? That's a good question. Because yeah, Canadians are super nice people. Yeah, some of them are. Not all of them, Jill. Yeah, they might seem like they're nice. You know, they might speak nice or not tell you what they really think. They're not as outward. Like it's funny when I went to the States sometimes, the way some guys are talking to each other, like, yo, fuck you, like totally in your face. But I was like, man, if somebody talked like that in Canada, that's fighting words. Like we're 2 seconds away from an actual fist fight when somebody speaks like that. But then I noticed that the Americans, they have a tendency to speak like that, but there's not actually a physical fight that is an automatic that happens from that. So it was kind of a different sort of barometer where you almost had to kind of reset yourself and understand, depending on what state you're in as well too, will depend on how people interact and what is acceptable behavior before violence happens. So yeah, it's quite different. Yeah, there are chemtrails in Canada too. There are Hoyt Fitness. Yeah. Not as many right now, but there was. Yeah. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say all Americans are all talk either. I mean, I won't make words like that either. I won't say that shit because I've met some Americans. They're not all talk. They're fights too. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's good. It's good to have friends. It's good to have friends around the world. And it's good to have people that have a mutual cause. You know, a mutual understanding. It's good. Timmy Thistle, I'm lean but don't have very veiny arms. My friend who has a lot more fat than me is vascular. Yeah, that is a genetic thing for sure. I remember there was sometimes you compete. I was competing. There's some freaking annoying people sometimes backstage, like the guys that are expediters are helping. Some of the people are super nice, right? But there's this one guy, he's just really effing annoying, right? And I was at this bodybuilding show, the Natural Universe and stuff, and he was like, I think he had a fascination with this one guy or something like that. You know, whatever's his thing, who cares? But anyway, he kept on saying, "Look at this guy. This guy, no, he really looks good." And this guy was really small, but he had a lot of veins, right? because this guy was fascinated with veins. And he goes, oh, look how lean he is. I'm like, yeah, but he has no striations or anything. It doesn't mean he's leaner just because he has veins. It's just genetic, right? But he's just like fascinated with this vein thing. But veins are impressive sometimes when it comes down to leanness, but they're not the entire picture for sure. High blood pressure for veins. Well, in some cases that can be the truth too, maybe. Yeah. So Rocky Balboa, nice screen name, by the way. Sylvester Stallone's movie was First Blood was filmed 20 minutes away from me, so I don't know if you know that, but there you go. This is a natural bodybuilding channel, so I don't know if you're just trolling or if you're just kind of trying to be funny or what you're doing, but I'll let you stick there until I figure out what you're doing. Yeah, you know what? I do laugh sometimes when some people take the hate America type thing. I mean, I understand politics is politics. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Every country's made mistakes, whatever. But I do laugh when some Canadians say, and I don't hear a lot of Canadians say this, but some Canadians have issues with, you know, the states are bad because they've had this war or that or whatever. And I'm like, you know, the only reason why you're not speaking another language right now is because the states is right beside us, because we don't have the army to defend ourselves. so if I were you, I'd just shut the hell up and enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? Like, so like I said, there's good and evil in the world, and it's not always quite so clear to figure out what. And sometimes people will look at one action and say, oh, that person's evil, but not seeing the 10 things that led up to that one action that they did, you know? So I think that, again, it's this oversimplistic approach to life, this oversimplistic vision that people have where they judge somebody based on actions, but they don't really look at what led up to that action. We see it on social media all the time. We see this horrifying video of this retaliation between this guy and another guy or whatever. But then if you really see the background, this person was antagonizing this person for like days before this one moment that got shown on social media was shown. So I think there's a lot of times, a lot of things going on in the background that people aren't aware of, and they're making preconceived judgments about something they don't really understand. So yeah, I try to be careful about that. Celtic pride, Canada is just as fucked up as America, pal. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? Because I wasn't saying Canada isn't fucked up. Hey, Celtic pride, what part of what I said did you misunderstand? Because you're misunderstanding something. Because I never said one thing against the States. I was talking positively for the States. So don't be projecting your own issue on me, man, because I wasn't saying anything negative about the States. Yeah, I'm done sets for now. Wait, fitness. Thanks, buddy. I'm gonna do something later. Hey, Celtic pride. If you could scroll back in the video, you'll see that you're arguing against a guy that's actually sharing the same point of view as you. So I don't understand what you're saying. Okay, you're just trolling now. Yeah, some people like hate the U.S. because yeah, they're actually on top. Yeah, for sure. I guess. Yeah. Oh, Celtic. Okay, Celtic. Yeah, you should probably be careful with the way you word things, because otherwise it's hard for me to tell whether you're just pissing on me or whether you're just saying something that I don't even know. But well, yeah, no, Justin Trudeau is the hugest disappointment in Canadian history, honestly. And yeah, I believe in having borders in a country, just like I believe in having walls in a house. I mean, you know, everybody that's talking about not having borders on a country is the same person that's not inviting everybody into their house and saying, I'm going to feed and clothe you for about 6 months. I find that interesting, you know, so I find a lot of times this is the problem with the world right now, is that a lot of times people have philosophies, but they can't back up their philosophies with action and say, okay, but I'm willing to pay the price for it. I'm willing to give my energy and blood for it. No, instead they're saying, oh, I'm going to cash the check by somebody else doing the work. Or I'm going to get somebody else to do things because I have this idea that the world should be saved, but they're not willing to suffer one little bit for it. So yeah, I find that interesting. And you talk about a lot of these left agenda people where they're saying, oh yeah, do this, do that, do this, but they're not the ones spending the money to do it. They want somebody else's money to do it, you know? So I find that hilarious. Yeah. No, Celtic pride. There's true. There's some other stuff going on for sure. Yeah, yeah. Timmy Thistle. Yeah, I haven't met an Australian I didn't like. I mean, I'm not saying they're all the same because I'm sure there's some, but I've met a lot of good Australians too. Rasika Namal, how old are you, sir? I'm 46. Yeah, GL, what do you think about pro-choice versus pro-life? I don't know. That's a big discussion. I mean, I think there's always, I think with anything, you have to take an individual circumstance into account. And unfortunately, people that want one blanket statement for everything usually have another agenda that they're trying to push, and that's the problem. But I do believe that people should have their own choices in life to do what they need to do, as long as it's not hurting everyone else. But yeah, I mean, there's just too many different stipulations. Each scenario, I think, would have a different action. I think, yeah. Do you own or can you even own a gun in the part of Canada where you're from? I want one, but Los Angeles is really strict on concealed carry ownership. I don't think you can conceal carry here, to tell you the truth. I don't think you can ever do that. But you can own a gun for hunting and fishing and, like going out on excursions in nature and stuff. But it's pretty strict with the licensing and stuff. Yeah, again, GL, like I said, there's stuff where people are saying, oh yeah, pro-choice is good, but then they're looking at aborting at 5 or 6 months. Like, that's absolutely like murder at that point. You know what I mean? Like there's, like I said, I don't want to get into it too much, but I don't agree with that by any means. So just know that. So yeah. Do you believe that everyone is really natural in natural bodybuilding competitions? Oscar, it depends which natural bodybuilding competition you're talking about. See, if you call something natural, it doesn't mean it is. Some people are doing natural bodybuilding contests that are only urine tested. And these guys are full of gear, full of shit. A lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them are full of shit. They're full of different types of drugs because they're only getting a urine test and they just stop taking stuff about 2 weeks before and then they pass the test. Now, if you go to the bodybuilding shows where guys are getting polygraph tested, that's different because they're getting urine and polygraph tested, and sometimes they're getting random tested if they're pro in certain federations. So those federations, yes, they're natural, and you do see guys get caught all the time. You ever tried any nootropics? Nope. I don't know what that is. See you there, Timmy. I used to work as a producer for Political Network for 7 years. I'm so burned out of politics. Yeah, I mean, it gets to be really tough micromanaging lies and everything, Yeah. It's all good until they run out of other people's money. Yeah, exactly. Wasn't that a Margaret Thatcher quote or something? Yeah, socialism or something. Yeah. Lots of stuff going on in the world. Lots of stuff. In the end, I think everybody's just got to try to agree to try to do the best thing they can and be open to things that might not be part of their awareness at the time. And I think that's where the missing link is. There are a lot of people that are hating certain political candidates and certain people, but they only know a superficial story, or they're judging them based on a couple words they used, or maybe a speech, or the person didn't wear the right fucking jacket or something, but they're not looking at what's really happening. What's the person really doing? Not what is the press saying they're doing, but what is really happening. And that's what people need to pay attention to. Stephen Amel, is drinking alcohol and training bad for you? Yes, I would say it is not going to help you whatsoever. Watch my video on drinking alcohol and training. I did a video on it. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, GL, the news spins things all the time because people are controlling the news. There are people that have agendas in the government that are lobbying for their own things. They're the ones spending the money, and then they're in bed with the actual political party that they're with. So sometimes they're showing a negative opinion about a certain candidate, or only showing certain things because they're working for the other party. So how can that be neutral? It's just not. So yeah, there are people that have a certain invested interest in holding power. I don't know them personally, but I'm sure there's some stuff that's apparently going to come out. If you do research, there's some stuff that's apparently going to come out that's going to spin you upside down. The amount of shit. Like, I'm just going to say this, okay? We talk about very physical things on this channel. I talk about lifting weights. I talk about weight training and all this, and lifting metal, like real physical stuff. But one thing I have seen and I've been a part of before are certain ceremonies and spiritual energy. And the energy is so palpable from these ceremonies that it almost blows you through the wall. That's how powerful it is. And these are some powerful puja ceremonies in Buddhism and Hinduism, and even some um, like you could call it like shamanic ceremonies. And some of the energies are so strong. Like there is no doubt that something's happening. And until you've experienced this, you will be a blind person just thinking that everything is just random physicality. Now, there are other energies that are not necessarily working in a positive way that also have effect, that are also doing something in this world right now. And I think there's going to be some things coming out about that stuff in the future that will show that there is another science that's also dominating things that may come to light. So yeah, watch for that. Do I have any? Okay, Francis Drake, I just erased your comment, but not because I just want to promote anything. But you said, do I have any deals with? I don't even know what my protein is or whatever. But do I have any deals with some protein powder company? No, I don't. I don't have any protein powder company deals or something. Why are you looking to give me some money or something? A lot of religion is so intimately tied with politics. It's a rabbit hole not worth going down for the average person. It will consume so much of energy. Yeah, I'm not talking about religion, Samuel, just so you know. I'm talking about actual, it's kind of like, let's call bodybuilding a religion and let's call the bench press an exercise. There are exercises that you can actually feel the burn in the muscle. There are things you can do to access different energies within. That's all I'm saying. And there are positive energies and energies that are not so positive. Think of it like music. There's music that makes you feel all light and airy, and then music that makes you feel kind of suicidal. You know, like there's different music, right? Different notes will cause a different disturbance in the system or different harmonization. So it's from there that I'm speaking. I'm not talking about religion. Any books off the top of your head that you can recommend, whether it be spiritual, self-help, sci-fi? It's interesting for you to read Autobiography of a Yogi. It talks about a lot of spiritual phenomena in there. Not everything, but there's quite a bit of stuff in there that's pretty neat. What's my favorite type of meat? Lobster. I love lobster. Scallops I like too, and moose meat is great. But of course, lobster is not really accessible for me. But the funny thing is, you guys don't know, is my dad, when he was growing up, the rich food, a rich person's food, was bologna. He lived in Newfoundland and he was pretty poor, and he always talked about bologna. And even to this day, he loves bologna, or he loves the cheap ass sausages in a can and stuff, because the American U.S. Air Force Base that was in the town that he grew up in, they had a lot of these products like lunch meats and stuff. And he was poor, so they'd have to eat lobster sandwiches and stuff. And the poor kids would eat lobster sandwiches because lobsters you could just harvest right from the beach at that time. It wasn't like it was lobster season or anything. You just would get them or whatever at some point, and then you have this massive amount of food, right? But it wasn't looked at as a rich person's food in his neighborhood at that time. So kind of funny. In Hawaii, everyone loves Spam. I don't know how anyone could love Spam, but yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, my dad would eat that stuff too. He'd eat Spam and then the canned sausages, right? So all the shit meats, that's what he'd love. He'd love all that stuff, and always be giving him shit about that. My brother would always give him shit too, because he's like naturopath and doesn't believe preservatives and things, and trying to keep dad away from that, right? But dad's always like, he likes that stuff. So Sean, you made a comment, Sean Pavlik, but I noticed you retracted your message. So obviously you're going to say something, but I don't know what that was. I'm curious to what that was. There's Sean, Shawnee boy. I'm just waiting for the comments to refresh here. A second. Spam asubi is a spam sushi fusion. Really good over here. I've never heard of that. That's funny. Oh, you said ritual abuse? Yeah, there are certain rituals that have nothing to do with freedom and enlightenment. They have to do with, uh, let's just say, if I take air, like a blast of air, and then I compress that air and then hit a wall with it, I can blow a hole through the wall, right? So in that way, there are certain ceremonies that push forces from one direction to another by compressing, but there is a repercussion or a backlash somehow from it. But it's based on polarities. It isn't based on freeing anybody in the process. It's a different type of thing. Yeah, I'm not an expert in that realm, but I've been privy to a lot of positive forces, and I've researched a lot about there's other forces that exist that some people become masters of, which require a lot of other stuff. Do I believe in the law of attraction? Not necessarily. A lot of the new age stuff is glorified psychological kind of positivity that's easy to market to people's egos and things. But there's no doubt that if you change your energy, that it can make a difference in your actions, and your actions will also cause a different effect. But ultimately, you have to become free of suffering in order for there to be a free movement of your heart, and that is really all that you're after. Everybody's really looking to be free from suffering. They buy things or do things. I mean, assuming their survival is taken care of. Okay, I'm not talking about like there's always the one person that says, "Yeah, but I can't eat." Like I'm not talking about that. I mean, but really what you're looking for is to become free of suffering and just more emphatically happy and passionate about life, whatever. And the ego is the source of a lot of suffering. So once people know that how they view the world is causing suffering, and they learn how to reverse engineer how they've created their own suffering, then other possibilities start to show themselves. And that can show in a lot of positive ways, but it's not necessarily in money. It might be in more friendship. It might be in something else, right? So oh, you're Mr. D. Your son loves playing D&D. Nice, nice. Thanks for the $2 there, by the way. Hmm. GL, am I still active on my other channel? Yeah, I'm active there. I just uploaded something today. It's called Jason J. Gallant. It's a more serious channel. This one I kind of goof around a lot and whatever, and talk about training. And that one I just talk about just different points of view or different things that might be hanging you up on and sticking you in suffering. That's all. All I know is that when you're clear about you and there's a freer movement of you instead of your mind getting in the way and the suffering and the projections and the history and everything you're carrying, there's something quite amazing that comes from that. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to free yourself from the complicated tangled mess that the mind can become. And that's what I share on that channel, at least some of it. Yeah. Is there a way to maintain a bodybuilder's physique and also train for endurance, long distance run? Nope. There's absolutely no way of doing that. Just watch TV shows on endurance runners, like guys that are running 20 miles, 30 miles regularly every day. They do not look like bodybuilders, and there's a reason. They might have some calves, but their leg development and their upper body, they just start to waste away, right? So no, there's no way. At some point, you have to make a difference or make a choice. What's my thoughts on seated dumbbell curls? I don't like them too much because the dumbbells hit my legs. But again, experiment yourself. But I'd like to have a little bit of a lean back where the arm stretches back a bit so I get that long head stretched. That's what I like. So that's why I do the incline. Yeah, Francis Drake. Okay, now we're talking about sprinting. Okay, you're talking about sprinting. That's different than jogging and endurance running. Okay, so it depends on what you're talking about, right? If you're talking about jogging, long distance jogging, that's totally different than sprinting. Sprinters can have a totally bodybuilder physique, 100%. Yeah, sprinting is actually good for bodybuilding. You could do sprinting, and that would be no problem. Nice, Hoyt Fitness. Nice that I've inspired something in somebody. besides hate, because I've done a lot of that too. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, Francis Drake. Yeah, it's not as much the activity as sometimes the intensity of the activity, and that's what people mean when they jog. They're saying I'm jogging, and that means that not doing 100% sprint within 10 seconds or 15 seconds and hitting absolute failure or fatigue. Right? They're saying I'm going to jog for 10, 20, 30 minutes or an hour, and I'm going to keep on burning those calories. And then is that good for bodybuilding? Well, no, it's not. I'm just waiting for the comments to refresh again here. Sean Pavlik, how are you doing anyway? I haven't seen a lot of you these days. I just see you pop up once in a blue moon. How you doing? How's life treating you? You throwing a baseball around still or what? And Francis Drake, yeah, that's true. Sprinters also do a lot of partials because they're trying to get that nervous system going. And if you look at a sprinter, they never bend more than 90 degrees at the knee when they're running. You never bend more. No, I didn't think you're doing baseball, Sean. I figured maybe you just throw the ball around once in a while just for fun. But I figured you weren't competitive in it anyway. You're doing well. That's good. Yeah. I expect a full report here, Middleman, I met a UPS driver that lost his gains at UPS. Too much running around, working 12-hour shift. He was in shape, but not pumped up. Yeah, well, the thing is, there's also maybe he's not eating enough too when he's at work and doing the long shifts. Maybe he's not getting the same workouts in. I mean, 12-hour days is pretty exhausting too. So I can see how that can kind of mess you up. And each job has its own challenges. And I think the UPS drivers, or at least I knew a courier before. I wasn't sure if it was UPS he worked for or somebody else, but he used to get paid by how many packages he delivered. So he was always in a mad rush all day to get his quota done. Otherwise, he wouldn't get paid enough and stuff. So there's no doubt there's a stress to fighting traffic all day and doing that, right? And if you're in a rush, a lot of times guys that are in a rush to do things, they're not eating. They spend 5 minutes trying to eat something, whatever, but they're just ignoring that. And they figure when they get home, they'll kind of compensate for that. And one of the fastest ways to kill your gains is to eat once every 12 hours or whatever. That's just the best way to do it. Hey there, Casper. David Zeke, if you're fat and you have muscle, if you lose weight and you want to lose fat, will you lose muscle also? Not necessarily, David, if you diet properly. And by losing about a pound or two a week tops, especially if you're a bodybuilder. I'm not talking about a person that's grossly overweight here. Because there are a lot of times people say, oh, I'll only lose a pound a week, but they're like 400 pounds overweight. Well, that's not necessarily, that's just them deluding themselves, trying to ease themselves into the process. But if you do really have muscle, which is the other question, because sometimes people say they have muscle, but they don't, they just had a lot of fat, right? And the fat was helping them move a lot of weight because they're just heavier, and being heavier helps you move weight. But yeah, I mean, you can maintain your muscle mass as losing body fat, especially down to about 10 or 12% body fat. You don't have to lose a ton of muscle. Now, once you get to 4% stuff, it becomes trickier as you get leaner. It becomes trickier to hold on to that muscle tissue. Drill, you've been doing one meal a day and feel fine. Is that really limiting your gains? Yeah, probably. I mean, I felt fine eating bags of Doritos and just eating chocolate bars. I felt fine. There's nothing I didn't feel different. But did I feel pumped? Did I feel stronger in the gym? Was I making gains holistically? Look at what's happening with your training over a period of months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. That's really what's going to tell you. It's not about whether you feel fine or not, because what fine is a different definition for each person, right? So fine is not necessarily a good measuring device of whether you're gaining muscle or not. I mean, you're fine just getting fatter. I mean, I could be fine just being 400 pounds overweight too. I'm just like, maybe it's harder to breathe, but I feel fine just shoveling pizza down. You know what I'm saying? So the definition of fine you have to understand what that really means. You have to, what do you call it? You have to differentiate what that different types of fine, or, what kind of experience are you talking about here? Is liver better than steak for building muscle? It's supposed to have a really good protein requirement stuff. I just can't stand eating it enough to say that it's better. But if you're deficient in minerals and stuff, liver is way better than steak for you, at least here and there. You should have some organ meats here and there. I think it's a good idea. Hey, Jason, is it hard with a relationship while living like a bodybuilder? It is hard with a relationship if you're competing. If your wife is not necessarily a fan of what it is you're doing, then it's going to be next to fucking impossible, to tell you the truth. It will be next to impossible because when you're fighting for the kitchen, trying to prepare food, they're preparing something different, and they're eating something different in front of you all the time. There's always this war of the food and the patterns and this and that. It becomes very tough. So yeah, in the past I had girlfriends that were, they knew me as the bodybuilder guy. They knew that I competed and stuff, and they were kind of on board with that, and they would be really supportive, and they helped. Like, say if I didn't have food and I'm like, hey, I'm really hungry, I'm coming back from the gym, you know, something, I forgot to make this, or I need to make that, or this is defrosted, can you help me out? That really helped. But if you have somebody that's like, oh, I don't care what you do, whatever. Oh, let's go to a restaurant. Let's go to fancy dinners. Let's go to movies, and let's do these things where there's lots of temptations for food and stuff. That becomes very tough, especially once you get really lean. You're really not wanting to be around a lot of temptation for those foods, because your body is just starting to primarily cry out for fats and sugars and stuff. So yeah, in that way, it will be impossible. If you have a relationship that doesn't support it or is not understanding how much commitment it takes, then yeah, you'll definitely have a lot of arguments, a lot of problems, blood sugar drop up and down, you know, all this stuff. So yeah, it definitely helps. But just training and eating healthier and stuff, that works fine with a relationship. You don't have to be a narcissist to be a bodybuilder or to lift weights and take care of your health, right? Yeah, RoboWarrior, varying rep range is say 4 to 6 weeks, low to medium. Are you talking about like every 4 to 6 weeks you change the rep range, or vary it up during? I would vary up the rep ranges during the 4 to 6 weeks. I always vary them up on a weekly basis. Like I'll do one high rep range, then I'll maybe do a little bit lower the next day. I do it like that. I find the best results that way. Your muscles are always shaggy, not firm like the other guys in the gym. What's the reason for it? But I can lift heavier than the others. Yeah, you can lift heavier because you're probably fatter than Rasika. I mean, it's no insult to you because I don't have a picture, so I'm not insulting you or anything. But I'm just saying, hardness, muscle hardness, and leanness has everything to do with body fat percentage, right? And the thing is, you can sometimes lift heavier when you're fatter, just heavier, because that heavier weight's not moving you around. Doesn't mean that your tension or the muscle contraction is stronger, though. It just means that you're basically at an advantage because the weight can't move you around, so you're not wasting energy trying to stabilize. What's my favorite organ meat? I like chicken hearts. Chicken hearts are unbelievably good. I love those. With potatoes and onions and garlic. Oh my God, those are good. I know it sounds disgusting, but boy, they're good. They're a little bit higher in fat though, so you not want to eat them all the time. Man, they're good. Yeah, at Robo Warrior always found higher reps give you better tone and definition. Well, yeah, because it depends what you mean by higher reps, but higher reps than powerlifting for sure will always give you more tone and definition because you're getting those muscles to failure, right? And you're getting them pumped up. Favorite rice? I like jazz. I like what is it? Yeah, jasmine basmati rice. Jasmine, yeah. See you, Leon. Yeah, thanks. You're welcome. So, Robo, we were saying for you, 8 to 12 is high. Yeah, I wouldn't say 8 to 12 is high reps. I would say that's more medium reps, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Heavy, slow reps give you any results? Yeah, heavy, slow can give you results. But I find eccentrics, like if you're super heavy, like I find the biggest thing with eccentrics, like real true eccentrics or whatever, is when you're lifting heavier than your 1 rep max and then you're lowering the weight slowly. They can be extremely dangerous though, especially if you have any instability in the joints like I have, whatever. But that would be where I would say you probably get the most result, but they can be the most risky too. So if I were you, I would be more moderate with the weight. Like say you're doing something you could do 7 or 8 reps with, but then you're just doing slow down and then up. But it's a technique to hit one muscle fiber, but it's not something that will work all the time. I find doing that once in a while works well for me, but only once in a while. If I do it all the time, I just flatten out. I don't necessarily get bigger. Yeah. I think Francis Drake, how much water should a bodybuilder drink? I think a gallon a day is pretty good, somewhere around there. Yeah, Francis Drake, it's not a gallon a day is really not that much. I mean, especially if you're eating a lot of protein and stuff. And I don't know. Do I make personalized meal plans? Christian, what I'm doing right now is I'll do consultations with people. If they want to book a consultation, they can do that. We do a Skype session. I give them recommendations. And right now I am writing up not a plan as much as it is just guidelines with diet and how to change diet around and stuff depending on what's going on with your training. So it's only going to be about 5 to 10 pages long, but I'll be selling it on my website or giving it to my patron supporters. Robo Warrior, I've also found if I go all the way to my chest, I don't really feel it in the pecs as much. Feel it better in the incline presses down to say parallel elbows. Yeah, that's right. Inclines, I find it's not good to touch the chest. Flat bench, depends on what's going on with your shoulders at the time. Depends on your proportions or whatever, whether touching the chest is necessary or not. I've been touching the chest lately just for fun, just because I get fucking trolled so much about it. But I just basically touch the chest, and I do get a stretch in the chest in a certain way. And right now it feels okay for the shoulders, but there have been times where it felt wrong, just not right based on what's going on with my labrums and stuff. So yeah, it just depends. Just depends. Yeah, you don't want to grind out your shoulder joint. Yeah, you definitely want to be aware of that, Robo Warrior. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I think it's time for me to get some meat. I think incline or decline for best chest results. I think that's going to depend on the person, David. But I would say I never did decline that much. I found I've got a lot of shoulder in decline, although sometimes I get some sort of feel in it. So I don't know. I'm not really a decline fan as much as I do get some results from it, but it's almost, yeah, I'd rather do inclines, I think. Yeah. Yeah, GL, I'm actually, GL, this is the thing. I'm not letting the trolls change me as much as I'm always, like, I really mean this. Like, I'm always looking at whether I'm right or not about what's going on with my body. And my body sometimes changes. Sometimes there's something going on different, or something healed, or something's moving differently, right? And then I go with that. But ultimately, I just try to go with whatever's going to give me results, honestly. And sometimes it feels better to do a different range of motion than another. And I'll try that out for a period of time and see, All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for tuning into the chat. I'll have a video up tomorrow. I will have a video up tomorrow. I will have that up tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, I'll be doing live chats every Friday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. That's Washington, LA time for you guys that don't know anything in the States about Canada. Pacific time, you don't even know what area code you're in or time zone. I'm just kidding. I'm just busting your chops. But anyway, yeah. So tune in then. And I will be doing videos all throughout the week. So please tune in, share them if you can. Otherwise, you will end up on the mountain. And it's a very strong possibility I will come to your house. And yeah, it could happen. You don't want that to happen. You don't want this face showing up to your house. It's funny haircut and face and whatever. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, take care. All right. Thanks, Robot Junior, for the $1.99. Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks, Robot Junior. I'm not into the CBD stuff, but whatever works for other people is fine. But I don't use that stuff. So, all right, bro. Okay, guys. Have a good night, and yeah, we'll see you soon.